Welcome to SicEm365 Radio.
Anderson is good. He knows it. They know it. Morton Anderson from 38 yards officially. Morton Anderson and the Atlanta Falcons ended 30-27. And Atlanta goes to Miami.
Dan Reeves is now the third coach to take more than one team to a Super Bowl.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Little read option, and Russell on the keeper. He's down the sideline. Seth Russell cruises into the end zone with another Baylor touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go. Week number 4, episode
19.
Episode 19, and we will have Dan Reeves, Super Bowl coach, of course, with what he did with the Denver Broncos, the Atlanta Falcons, among others. He'll join us today at 3:10. Also, the latest commitment to Baylor football quarterback Kyron Drones out of Shadow Creek High School. Led his team to a state championship. The news yesterday at 3 that he committed to Baylor. I spent time today on the phone with his father, who's a coach at Shadow Creek, and also got a great quote from his head coach, Brad Butler. We'll have that for you in a minute. And even better, Kyron will join us today at 3:30. We'll have Tank Hopkins. He played linebacker under Dave Aranda at Hawaii. We'll have Kyle Fuller, a part of that all-decade Baylor offensive team, one of the best offensive linemen, part of the Seattle Seahawks. Mickey Spagnola, Cowboys at 4:30. How about CeeDee Lamb, guys? Gets the legacy number.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb gets 88, following in the footsteps of Drew Pearson and Michael Irvin and Dez Bryant and the guy who is trending on Twitter today,
Antonio Bryant,
because it appears, Twitter is a mixed bag of just all sorts of ages and backgrounds and everything else. And so it does, even with that mixture, I think sometimes with certain things tend to lean to the younger crowd. And I think that's why it was trending, because there was a lot of people that had no idea who Antonio Bryant was and thought he was Antonio Brown, as a matter of fact. And they had to have it explained he was just a very forgettable Cowboys wide receiver.
He was the guy who had the stones to throw his number 88 practice jersey in Bill Parcells' face.
But he was pretty good.
He was good. And
he was just on the edge. He's a diva.
Well, I was on a talk show in Tampa with him. Once Jason Behringer set it up because he was doing some stuff because he lives in Tampa now and he played for the Bucs for a little while. And Behringer set up a thing for me, our former producer. He said, "Hey, can you come on and talk about the Cowboys and Bucs game this week?" And Antonio Bryant was one of the other guests. There's another former, and he was hilarious and funny. And I even made the joke. I said, "I know, Antonio, that you're not you're angry at me just for being in AT&T Stadium right now." And he started laughing. He was like, "Oh no, me and Bill are cool now." I was like, "Okay, great."
Wow, me and Bill.
Yeah.
He had the second most productive rookie season of any Cowboys wide receiver in history. He actually started off pretty well, but it was a couple of additions that really eventually pushed him over the edge. They got Terry Glenn, which bumped him down a spot. And then they went and they got Keyshawn Johnson, and that was when the whole episode with Parcells happened. And, then he went to a bunch of teams after that, and I don't remember what he did. But, CeeDee Lamb is going to be hopefully more Pearson, Irvin, Dez versus Antonio Bryant. I'm pretty confident that he will be.
Yeah, well, he didn't. He was assigned at number 88. Jerry kind of apparently pushed it on him because he likes that whole thing. And what Jerry wants, Jerry gets. And I'm sure the sell job he did on on CD was glorious.
I've reached out for us, Drew Pearson, Michael Irvin, the two legacies at 88, and obviously you mentioned Dez as well. Be interesting to get their feedback on this. Hey, we have Kyron Drones, the quarterback out of Shadow Creek today.
Drones
at 3:30. I'm going to have to continue to struggle with that for some reason. Tank Hopkins, who played for Dave Aranda at 3:45. He played at Hawaii, now lives in Central Texas. He's from Marlin. Kyle Fuller, Mickey Spagnola, and Darren Heitner, who's a sports law attorney on the NCAA documents. Had a couple of people reach out to me for questions they would like me to ask Darren Heitner, and we will. That's going to be today at 5 o'clock. Here is a quote on Kyron Drones, then break. This is Brad Butler, the head coach at Shadow Creek. Smokey Kyron has played extremely well for us. His ability to step in as a junior this season and improve each week was a bunch to do with our success. He has a big arm and is strong, tough to bring down. The sky is the limit to what he is capable of achieving. I'm extremely proud of the work habits he's developed, and his body is still maturing. Big things ahead for Baylor and Kyron. The two Shadow Creek Sharks up there together. Eventually, I'll predict you'll be talking quite a bit about Drones to Jones for the touchdown.
Yeah, Seth Jones, who signed last year, or I guess was that this past recruiting class, and I know there's a lot of hope around him. So, yeah, Drones and Jones, and I know we'll get to it at some point, but there is one more roster spot now potentially open as a Baylor players enter the transfer portal. Offensive lineman Paul Mataval-Poyali, who was originally from California.
God, I'm glad you're the one that had to say the name.
PMP, all that ruckus that there was during his recruitment. Well, I don't know if it's COVID or if it's just being from California and the homesickness that entered in, or the coaching change. I mean, there's a lot of reasons a guy like him might want to transfer. And so, yeah, Paul Mataval-Poyali, PMP, has entered his name into the transfer portal. Doesn't mean that he's going to transfer, but I would say the odds are pretty good.
You wonder if he's in California and he just said, you know what, the hell, I'm just going to stay out here. Jade Barron, who is the guy who decommitted,
released,
is now a part of the UT class. They're really good about getting people's sometimes the send. They're good at getting who they want, but it's interesting how they got him. But Dave Aranda let him go, too. He said, okay, go if you don't want to be here. Coming up next, Dan Reeves, former Cowboys running back and former Super Bowl coach, next on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and to support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together. We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at IdealMRI.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars Team, 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Benwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th Annual Academic All-Stars Team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on SicEm365 Radio.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
The Cowboys have it at midfield, facing 2nd and 5. Meredith on a pitch out to Reeves. But this one's going to be a halfback option. Renzel all by himself takes it in for the touchdown, a 50-yard strike as the Packers were caught napping.
Man, that's a blast from the past. Great stuff, Paul Catalina. Dan Reeves, Cowboys, 1965 to 1972, won a championship as a player, won a championship as an assistant coach, and also a part of tremendous success with the Broncos, the Giants, and the Falcons. The gentleman himself joins us, Dan Reeves, on SicEm365 Radio. Coach, thank you very, very much. If you were still coaching today, how much anxiety would there be? And it's all about the health and safety of everyone in our country, but how much anxiety might you have knowing you weren't able to have maybe off-season workouts?
Well, that's a big part of it. There's no question about it. But I think the thing that you look at is that nobody has an advantage, and that's what you want. You want an equal playing field. You know, you'll get your players ready as quick as you possibly can when the time comes. But the safety of our country is much more important. You realize, you know, those things, and you want your players to be safe, but, you know, it's going to be an equal playing field, and that's the thing that you want.
Coach, when I was looking up highlights for you to mix down into our opens and that highlight from the Ice Bowl there, and one of the things I noticed was there's a bunch of stuff from the Atlanta 98 year. You were the head coach then of a team that hadn't been to the Super Bowl ever. And I know that you guys didn't do what you wanted to do and win that thing, but you did get a team there in a city that really wanted that. What was it like being a part of a team in a city that hadn't been to a Super Bowl and finally breaking through that ceiling?
Well, to be successful, you know, anywhere is quite a experience, because you realize how much hard work goes into it by your players, by your organization, by the owners. You know, you can't get it done by yourself. It takes everybody working together. I was very fortunate through my career that was very true, to have Coach Landry and, you know, great ownership with the Murchisons and so forth. You know, in Dallas, we were, you know, a franchise that everybody looked up at, and to be able to learn from that situation, you know, helped me tremendously going forward as a coach and trying to build those same type relationships. You know, to make it successful, you have to have those things, and you know, it takes everybody working together. And I was very fortunate that I was surrounded by a lot of, you know, great assistant coaches, great personnel people in our front office, and you know, that's the way you build something. It has to be done from, you know, the ground up, and everybody working together.
What did you miss more once those periods were over, being a player or being a coach?
You know, you miss the competition, whether you're a player, you know, or a coach. There's nothing like being a player, because that was something that, you know, I dreamed about as a kid. Never thought, you know, it would probably be possible, but then they end up being, in the National Football League was a dream come true, and to have the success of the organization that I was fortunate enough to be with the Dallas Cowboys was just, something that you just don't expect to have that, to be that lucky. And, so it was just a great experience. Met some awful good, friends that are still friends today. We still stay in touch. Those relationships you build, last a lifetime.
You had an 11-9 postseason record, and people sometimes, like almost college football coaches, they may look at a bowl record and it may not even be 500, but it's because they're also playing in one huge game after another. 11-9, is that something? Even though I know you didn't get the win in a Super Bowl as a head coach, I believe you had 9 teams that won 10 games or more. That 11-9 postseason record, is that something that's pretty salty, Dan?
Well, and it eats at you a little bit. It's a winning record. There's no question about it. But, when you look at those 9 losses, those are big losses, the chance that you have to win a championship. And, those don't just happen. It's a lot of hard work to get there. And when you come up short, it makes it an awful long off season. And that's the thing I think that people don't realize. When you win, the off season goes by really fast, but when you lose, it just goes so slow, and you can't wait till the next season comes around. It just eats at you a long time, and to be in that game is a great experience, but to lose it really does. It's just hard. I mean, losing is something tough to take, and you have to look at it and see what you accomplished, and look at the things that your players did accomplish, and think of the positive things. And sometimes that's hard to do when you have to look at that loss.
You coached the great John Elway in Denver. What was it like sitting back and watching him work, especially in those moments? I know it was tense for you, but are you able to enjoy the moment, or is one of those things that it's more fun after watching John Elway do what he used to do?
It's fun regardless. It was fun at the time. It's fun thinking about it. And, I tell people all the time, I can't tell you, being on the sideline and, having to call a play and know what, is supposed to happen. And, John would go back and you'd go, then he'd take it. No, yes. I can't tell you how many times I did that. I'd go, John, Ddcuments, no, yes. So, he was just amazing, the things that he could do. You just can't coach. I mean, it's just a natural ability that he has. Not only did he have the ability to make great plays, when they were drawn up right and things went perfect, but he could ad-lib, when it was a bad play and bad protection or whatever. He just had unique ability to, to just make great plays and win games for you. When you never were out of a game, and that does a lot for your team. When you're in the third quarter and you're down by 10, you still look at it and say, oh, we got a chance. We got a quarterback. We just got to pick it up. And that's a great feeling to have. And you have to have a quarterback like that. And, when I was through my career, to have the Roger Staubachs, the Craig Mortons, John Elways, Mike Vick, it just goes on and on with the, gosh, Phil Simms, I just had so many great quarterbacks, and you have to have that position to be successful.
Did you guys ever wonder how the Colts could have been so blockhead as to make him that mad that you got the opportunity?
No, I sure was glad.
Yeah, I bet. Coach.
No, I don't know. He just, I think John realized that he had an opportunity that a lot of people don't have because of the talent that he had in playing 2 sports. If it wasn't a place that he wanted to be, then he could turn it down. And, he used that option, and a lot of people looked at it and thought this is, crazy. But, I think if you put yourself in his position and have the same thing, you do the same thing. And it worked out great for him.
It definitely did. Coach,
it worked out great for me, so I'm proud of it.
Yeah, you bet. We just had the NFL draft this past weekend, obviously, and you were a part of a lot of drafts. I'm sure you've got hundreds of stories through the years, but when you think of the NFL draft, just what are one of the first things you think of?
Well, there's just so much work that goes into it that people don't understand. I mean, it's so easy sometimes to see the physical ability that people have, but there's so much work that goes into it. And if you're going to be successful, you'd have to count and rely on those scouts that you have that go out and work, in the off season, looking at these guys in spring practice and so forth. Not only seeing the physical talent, but what's inside, what makes their heart beat. What kind of person are they? There's a lot of guys that are very, athletic, but are not successful because they don't have the right attitude or work ethic. They don't overcome some of the things that they need to overcome to be successful.
We've had a lot of players from back in the Landry years, and even, of course, past that time into the 1990s dynasty as well. The Cowboys had in the 90s. But we've had guys that, with what Dallas did, you were undrafted and were very successful. I know that Coach Landry, Gil Brandt, Tex Schramm, and the system that they had, how much further ahead was Dallas's find talent no matter where it was, in the Ozark Mountains or wherever it was? How much further ahead were the Cowboys in the system?
Well, there's no question that's one of the big reasons for the success. Gil Brandt did such a great job. I mean, they would go to every school that was there. I mean, when you look at some of the players and see where they came from, little bitty schools, Fort Valley State, people never even, visited that school. And we get one of the best tackles that ever played the game, from Fort Valley State. Mm-hmm. So, they went to all the schools. They looked everywhere to try to find that talent. And, when you're successful, the NFL is set up to where if you're successful, you're going to draft last. So they try to, make it as equal as they possibly can. So if you're going to stay on top and be as successful as the Dallas Cowboys were through those years, you had to go an extra mile or two to find out where can we get these players. And so, in my case, for example, I was a quarterback, but they looked at it and, I was a running quarterback. So I did run with the football quite a bit, sometimes not because I wanted to, because I had to. And, so they made a running back, but that was one of the things that the Cowboys did. They signed me as a defensive back because I was a safety in college. But when you went to training camp, Coach Landry did a great job of, playing you offensively and defensively and giving you an opportunity and a chance to play. Being a quarterback in high school and college, I never played special teams, covering punts, covering kickoffs, returning those and so forth. But yet when I went to the Dallas Cowboys, they gave me that opportunity and a chance in the preseason, to see if you could do those things. And, we went to training camp back then like 10 days before the veterans came in, and it was like 2 a days, full speed, blocking and tackling, the whole time. So they gave you a chance to show what you could do, and I was very fortunate to make it and stay around.
You coached, obviously, as Paul mentioned, the Hall of Famer and John Elway. You played. Roger Staubach was a part of it, and you were a coach as an assistant when he was helping the Cowboys win championships, and as a player as well. What are your thoughts about Dak Prescott and what he brings to the table? And there's a lot of discussion. They franchise tagged him. He's there. He's not going anywhere. What are your thoughts about what you see with him?
Well, I've seen great play by him. He's a good team player. He can also do some of the things that you look at quarterbacks that are successful now. They can also, make it not only with their arm, but they do it with their legs. And he's extremely accurate throwing the ball, goes a great touch on it, has great vision on the field, and he seems to be poised under, tough situations. So, what I've seen from him, has been impressive, to me.
Coach, thank you. You've always been great whenever I've reached out to you. I don't know if you remember this or not, but back in 2009, you were consulting, or they wanted you to consult with the Cowboys, and I did an interview with you. And that interview went viral because you had been there and then you left. And I think you just I don't know if you just walked out of Valley Ranch or whatever, but you and I had a conversation that was very enlightening and eye-opening. I'll never forget it. A lot of people ran that interview throughout the state of Texas, and I want to thank you for that, even though that was a long time ago. I should have thanked you earlier, but appreciate your time as well today.
Well, it's good to have people that could hear Southernese and understand it.
That's right. We speak it fluently here.
We absolutely do. All right. Thanks.
All right. Good deal, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Coach.
it.
So in 2000, thank you, Coach. That's Dan Reeves, former Cowboys running back. In 2009, I had him on the show. He was going to be a consultant for Jerry, and he just left, just walked out the door.
Was that when they had the dispute about the number of hours he was supposed to work in his contract? There was apparently, it said that he had to work such and such amount of hours, and he found it to be insulting, and that's what caused him to walk out. That might be that same incident.
And so I just happened to call him out of the blue, and we had set him up for an interview anyway. It was like in February, and we did the interview. Galloway at the time, I think WBAP. No, it would have been ESPN, and I'm talking about everybody was running that interview because he flat out threw out some truth serum about the Cowboys organization. And it was quoted all throughout the country, not because of me, because of what he said. I just happened to be lucky enough to have him.
I'll tell you to Jerry's credit, he doesn't have that many of those incidents, and he seems to at least learn how to keep them from happening again.
Yep.
He doesn't have a lot of enemies, if you think about it.
No, he doesn't. And Dan Reeves probably doesn't think of him that way anymore either because Jerry will make peace with everybody.
Mm-hmm. He was a consultant in February 2009, short-lived. It was lasted 2 days. Reeves turned in his keys to his office and left. Cowboys could apparently not reach conclusions with his role. In the days following, it revealed that the dispute came down to a contract clause specifying the number of hours per week to be worked, and which Reeves, again, thought was insulting.
That's some useless information I had stored for some reason or another.
I remember getting that call from a lot of guys up in the Dallas area, and they said, hey, can we run that? I said, hell yeah. And they ran it like 2 or 3 times that day on the same station over something that was just random.
Yeah, by the way, Craig, that's our curse. If somebody is dying in like a restaurant or something, we couldn't, help them live. But if they said, listen, save this guy's life with a random sports fact, we've got you.
Yeah, guys, got you covered.
By the way, James Blanchard on his Twitter feed just 6 minutes ago, a bunch of Bears faces.
Yeah.
What does that mean, Craig?
Well, for explanation so that people just know moving forward, if you see James Blanchard, who's very much involved behind the scenes in the recruiting side of things, brother of former Baylor Bear Trayvon Blanchard, has been with the staff the last couple of years. He puts out bear emojis, the little bear head, and one thing that maybe not a lot of people pick up on is that there are 9 of them. Well, what was Kyron Drones' commit number yesterday? He was commit number 8. So the 9 Bears means there's apparently a 9th commit that's in the books, not public yet. Not sure when it will be public, but it does look like they've secured another commitment, and they're now approaching double digits. So it looks like we'll find that out just whenever the player feels like dropping it.
Well, number 8 was Kyron Jones. He's next on SicEm. Kyron Drones, SicEm365 Radio.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mark Bird, head football coach at Whitney High School, home of the Wildcats, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wraps, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people. Families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breasts, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots in Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Back in December, Shadow Creek on the doorstep a couple of years ago of a state championship brought it home. 16-0 record. Beat Denton Ryan for the state championship in 5A Division I, led by their quarterback, Kyron Drones, who's a junior, about to be in his senior year, and he has committed to Dave Aranda and Baylor University, and Kyron, on his way to a workout, joins us on SicEm365 Radio. So I don't want to start with the championship game, if you don't mind. I want to start with the day after you lost the year before, and I heard you and your father and family did not take the bus home, that you were in a car all the way back towards the Gulf Coast. What was that conversation between you and your father like that day?
That day, it was just like, I know what it takes to go win it, and I got to take him back and go win it next year.
How much did you think about it each and every step of the way, that feeling as you worked out more and more and more?
After that, I really thought about it almost every day until we started the season. And when the season started, I knew what I had to do. I know what the team had to do. I knew I had to be a different type of leader this year and had to go get the job done.
Kyron, what caused you to become a quarterback? What was it about that position? How did your journey kind of start in football and lead you to this spot where you are right now?
In Little League, I never played quarterback. I was always a running back or I played defense. But quarterback is all my dad trained me for. He would just take me outside, go throw the ball, always tell me what to do with the ball, and always have me throwing. So when I got to junior high, 7th grade, I was a quarterback, and I just went on from there.
How come you couldn't sleep last night?
Oh, I don't even know. I think I was just too excited. That whole day, I was excited.
Now, was it that, or because you ate your sister's brownies? Is that all the chocolate inside those brownies?
Oh, yeah, that had a part, too.
Kyron's learning real quickly. David Smoke does his homework before he interviews people.
Yeah, no, and your father, Kevin, who's fantastic, gave me a lot of background on you, and it's great to have you on, Kyron. I know Baylor fans are excited to hear from you as well. We appreciate you being a part of the show. So, in the end, you committed to Baylor and Dave Aranda, but I know it's more than football. What is it that is your passion when it comes to tennis shoes?
Just the way, I feel like shoes is what defines you. When I go out, I always make sure I look my best and then I always start my outfit on with the shoes. So whatever shoes I go on, I base the outfit on with that.
There are a lot of schools with business degrees. Can you try to explain why Baylor's options were the best options for you?
Because Baylor Baylor had entrepreneurship and apparel design. Like, I'm probably going to try to take both, major one, and then take a minor in one.
Very nice.
So, Kyron, you're stepping into a quarterback room that's got some guys like Jacob Zeno and Gary Bohannon in front of you, and, of course, Charlie Brewer. Was that part of it? You wanted to go somewhere where you could be with some good competition and an offense that's on the rise with Larry Fedora and George Munoz?
Yeah, I feel like the competition there would be really good for me. And then when Larry Fedora talked to me, he basically run the offense I run at Shadow Creek. So that's good for me because I'm used to it. And then he's like one of the dudes that made up the spread offense and first started it. So he already knows like what defense to run it on, and he knows how to perfect it.
What has your relationship been like with the coaches? How have you enjoyed getting to know everybody on staff and just the various conversations that you had? Obviously, you feel good enough to want to play for them for the next few years, but just how did that relationship sort of develop for you?
Ever since they offered me, they've been on me heavily. Like, it's mainly Coach Juice and Coach Bryant who I was talking to the most. And then when I knew I was going to go there, I started talking to Fedora more. Or when I started leaning on to them, I started talking to Coach Fedora more, and then it just grew from there.
So you knew Coach Juice Johnson at Houston, right? And you knew him there.
Yes, sir.
And
when I went on my visit to U of H, he was there.
Then you also, Coach Powledge knows your dad. Is that correct?
Yeah, Coach Powledge been trying to recruit me since I was in 8th grade.
And he was at UL Monroe. So it's amazing how this spider web of connections can play a role in some particular way. I did see something where Coach Fedora said something about he would never offer somebody until he actually got to see them. What was that conversation like? What did that mean to you that he changed his philosophy for Kyron Drones?
It had me feel like that I was really his dude for him to change his way of recruiting for me. Because for him to say he never offered without seeing somebody, I just had my QB coach and me send him videos until he felt like he wanted to pull the trigger, and he did, and I really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Kyron Drones of Shadow Creek High School, state championship, the junior MVP of the game this December with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Kyron, what are you working on right now just as far as your game goes? I know it's a weird time for everybody, but what are some of the goals that you have in mind during this stretch as you prepare for what you hope is going to be a full senior season?
I'm mainly trying to get faster and then work on my accuracy more.
And how do you go about doing that? Are you doing workouts with your dad, or how does that kind of work?
I have a speed coach who I see almost every day, and then my quarterback coach, I see him 3 days a week.
Okay.
And then sometimes I work out by myself.
All right, so you're playing Foster last year, early in the year. Great team as well, and you guys beat them. But you're down 24-7 in the playoffs, halftime. Everybody's like, what's going on? What did your father, who's a defensive line coach, say to you at halftime?
All he said was, you were built for this, you made for this, go be great, and go lead us in the victory. And then I took that, and then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, I'm messing up in the first half. Most quarterbacks, if they had the first half that I had, they would have gave up, or they would have been down on themselves, but I knew I couldn't do that because the team depended on me. So I knew what I had to do, and then came out in the second half and just put on the show.
Who was the first throw you made to, I think, in the second half? A guy that Baylor fans are going to get to know and already do know a little bit. Who was that?
That was Seth Jones.
Seth Jones, part of the 2020 class who caught a 40-yard play that just kind of kick-started the second half, and here comes Shadow Creek on their way to winning the game and also eventually a state championship. Craig?
No, I was just going to say that was a fun game, and Seth Jones, a heck of a player, but I know Baylor fans are really excited about Kyron and his commitment and fired up. And Kyron, just you're growing up, did you watch anything in particular? Did you watch much Baylor? If you did, what do you kind of remember from that?
Growing up, I was like a huge Baylor fan, especially when RG3 was there. That's all I watched.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, his whole time at Baylor, that's the only team I watched.
When did you actually call Coach Aranda and commit to him?
We had a Zoom meeting Tuesday at 1. It was my virtual tour since I couldn't go up there.
Right.
And then after the tour was over, I told him that I was committing.
But you didn't announce it until, what, yesterday morning? How hard was that to keep it quiet?
It was really hard because I told Coach Fedora Monday night after I talked to my people. I told Coach Fedora and Coach Juice, and then I was waiting to tell Coach Aranda after the meeting, and then I had to hold it in for another day.
Yeah, it's not easy to do.
That's why you didn't sleep. You were adrenaline rush, and then probably you slept like a baby once you finally fell asleep. All right, one more story. I want to compare it. I'm a almost 61-year-old, so this you're not going to make sense to this, but I know you had to go through a very difficult transfer, not because of anything other than the fact that you went from one school to another. Your father gets the job at Shadow Creek, and so you're at another school and trying to get used to new people. Some of those guys you knew in junior high. How difficult was that transition and getting to know? Because I'm a military brat, so is Paul. We moved all the time, and it was always very difficult to kind of fit in initially.
Yeah, it was very difficult because, like, at first, I'm not a dude that like talks a lot. So basically, like, if I'm not comfortable, I really don't talk. So it took me a couple of weeks to like get to know people and like get comfortable around people. And after that, I was happy with the move I made, and I'm glad I made that decision.
Kyron, thank you. Appreciate your time. I know you're about to go work out. You're never satisfied, and obviously that's part of what Baylor and many schools saw in you as well, or see in you. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Good luck this year at Shadow Creek.
Thank you for having me.
Man, that's Kyron Drones, just like that on Twitter. His father, Kevin, I happen to know a few connections. I didn't even realize this. He Galveston Ball, where he played. I think it's where I believe that's where Coach Drones graduated. Kyron's father, William Blaylock, who played at Baylor, who was at John Tyler on some of those great teams. They kind of knew each other on that. I think on that staff. I can't remember exactly what Kevin told me. Kevin Drones was great, and then Brad Butler's the one that sent us the text with a quote about Kyron and his play. His name Kyron comes from part of that, the initials of his father. They wanted to use the initials of Kevin Drones, so Kyron's part of that. They wanted either, if it's a boy, it's Kyron. If it's a girl, it's Kendall. Well, his sister is Kendall, and she's the one that baked the brownies for him on his big day committing officially to Baylor.
Yeah, so a big shoes fan will study entrepreneurship and apparel design, and I do need to make a mention that there's a quarterback, and I did this earlier today when Record and Trust the podcast with Grayson. We've already started to forget Blake Shapen as a part of this quarterback room as well. And we rattle off Zeno and Bohannon and Charlie. But, yeah, Blake Shapen from last year, he was a late, kind of late addition in the grand scheme of things. But, yeah, can't forget about him as well. So that quarterback room's pretty stacked up.
Well, you almost need one every year.
Yeah.
You do.
You do. Because especially the way that quarterbacks are so big a roster commodity now.
And they can leave early as far as to the pros if they're that good to do so.
Well, and then Charlie's gone after next year.
Absolutely.
Gary Bohannon will be like a junior at that point.
Yeah.
And, Zeno will be a redshirt freshman. So you'll have some separation there. But, yeah, I can't forget about Blake Shapen.
What a good young man, and appreciate his time. I appreciate his father and also Coach Butler at Shadow Creek. When we come back, he played for Dave Aranda, linebacker at Hawaii. He's from Marlin, Texas. Tank Hopkins next on SicEm360 Radio, 365 Radio.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
We're approaching the time to announce the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team. 20 elite student athletes who excel in both academic and athletic competition from Central Texas high schools. And right now, focused on the nominations that have come through so many great young men and women to choose from. Hi, this is David Smoke. Our title sponsor, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952. 2020 Academic All-Stars program is also brought to you by
Westdale Asset Management, Englander Design Pack, Bentwood Realty, Southwest Sports Medicine, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram, Coca-Cola of Waco, Ray Broker Air Conditioning and Heating, the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, HEB, the McLean Group, Universal Windows Direct, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Waco Foundation.
We will announce the team on Friday, May the 1st, and highlight them throughout the month of May. It's the 10th annual Academic All-Stars team, highlighting the elite student athletes in Greater Central Texas, right here on SicEm365 Radio.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
All right, this 3 o'clock hour, man, has it gone full throttle. Dan Reeves, we just heard from Kyron Drones, Shadow Creek quarterback who's committed to Baylor, and now someone connected to Baylor in a way you may not know. He's from Marlin, Texas. He now lives in the Waco area, which is, of course, in the Hewitt area. Tank Hopkins, he joins us. He's a defensive back, played defensive back at Hawaii, and Dave Aranda was on that staff, and he works at Allergan now. And hey, Tank, how you doing, man? Nice to have you on the show.
What's going on? It's good to be here, man.
So how did a guy from Marlin, Texas end up playing at Hawaii?
And it was a long journey. Hard work, dedication, man. It's pretty cool. Pretty good experience.
By the way, Tank was there at Marlin. Jerry Malone, who just recently passed away, was your head football coach. What was your thoughts when you heard that he had passed away?
Man, it's a sad day for Marlin. He's definitely going down as one of the best coaches in Marlin. Hopefully we can do something here soon after the pandemic or something. Come together as a community.
I used to do his coach's show, actually. When I first got into the business, I would do a little 5-minute interview with him every single week. One of the first ones I ever talked to. He was always a piece of work. Man. Fun to talk to. He was
a piece of work.
He was. I can't only imagine what it was like playing for him. But to Dave Aranda now, you played for him early on in his coaching career. What did you experience from him as a player and the way that he coached you and the way that he interacted with players?
he was very he's passionate about what he does. First thing come to mind is that he's really smart. No matter how many times I passed by his office or went to his office, he was always studying film or offered a technique to show me or told me how different receivers run different routes and stuff. So the guy's he knows exactly what he's talking about.
We've heard he is, I wouldn't say obsessive because obsessive comes off as a negative word, but whatever the good word is for that, almost with film study. I mean, you just mentioned it, passing by his office and he's always watching film. Is he one of the, I guess, more football savvy guys maybe you came across during the course of your career?
Yeah, I called him like a mad scientist when it comes to football, man. He's always on it. Anything you need to know, he has the answer for it. So, yeah.
Now, you have he's now the head coach at Baylor. Were you able to kind of follow what he did? He's been at Wisconsin. Obviously, he's been elsewhere than what he did at LSU. How much did you stay in touch with him? And have you actually had a chance to even text him or say anything about the fact you're here in Waco and he's at Baylor?
Well, I wrote him on Twitter and told him congratulations when he got his job, but, I haven't got a response back yet. But, hopefully we can connect here soon and relive some old memories we used to have. And I'm really happy for him. He got the head coaching job. But I knew he was going to get one of these days. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, by the way, we will send this link of this interview to Baylor, and they can do with it whatever they want.
Yeah, and Aranda's not the most Twitter savvy, so it might take a while for him to respond.
Exactly right. That's exactly.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Tank Hopkins played it more. I got to go back to Jerry Malone. I know we're here. We want to talk about Dave Aranda. Do you have a favorite, Jerry Malone story that you could actually share on the radio?
Oh, man. I don't know if there's a radio material for me to share, but...
well, we are on the internet.
We are internet radio.
Fire away, man. Yeah. Fire away.
I know a few times we was actually practicing. It was a playoff game. We practicing at Baylor. And I was the scout team running back at the time, and I was kind of giving the defense a little fit or whatever. And he got so mad and called the defense up, and he started yelling and screaming and cussing. And he headbutted a couple people, and it just was a big scene. I said, man, I never want to be on that side, that bad side. But
you couldn't do that today.
Yeah, he's a piece of work, man. The guy's really good. He's really good at what he did.
Were you on the 2003 team that played for a state championship?
No, I wasn't on the team. I was in high school, but I wasn't on the team. But
okay.
I went to every game.
Okay.
So I might have been on the team.
Okay, they played at Tyler. They lost to Atlanta, who had one of the fastest teams I've ever seen in my life at a high school level, at the 4A level, or 3 or 4A level at the time. I wasn't sure if, in fact, you were on that team.
Hey, I had to, after Marlin lost to Hutto in the playoffs with Jeremy Sanders as their quarterback, and that was a team that was poised to do a lot of things. I had to interview him on the radio after a loss. Can you imagine how well that went for me?
God.
Oh, man. I was on that team. Oh. I was the corner on that team. We lost, man. I was heartbroken. I didn't think I was going to play football again after that. I didn't have any offers.
Hey, Tank, we promised we didn't bring you on to bring bad memories up.
Oh, no.
Hey, Dave Aranda, we have not been around him all that much just because of everything that's going on. We've heard several interviews. We had him on the show, like the first show we did. He's very soft-spoken, very quiet. Is he always like that, or is there a time when more fire comes out? Like, how would you sort of describe his personality and what we've seen so far versus, what you were able to see for that time you were around him?
I haven't seen a time where he wasn't soft-spoken. He's always like that, but he has a way of getting the play, getting his message across. He's not the big rah-rah guy, but believe me, when he starts talking, you're going to listen to him.
How does that work? Because just the pure respect level, and you understand, he knows what he's talking about. How does that work?
Exactly. Everything he's told me has come to pass. It's been right on, spot on. Every film we went over, every route we covered, every coverage we covered, where the quarterback throw the ball, or where the defense lines up, where the offense line, no matter what it was, he was always spot on. So he like I said, he knows exactly what he's talking about. He's a mad scientist of what he does.
What are some of the particulars that he looks for at your position? What are some of the things that he, I guess, harped on or made sure to really get across as far as what he wanted you guys to do at your position?
He was big on technique. And my final year, we was big on like press corners. I remember we was playing against Washington, and he called me in the room one day, and they run a post route a kind of different way. They kind of cut the split down. They get an outside stem, and then break it back toward the post. It worked in the previous games and films we watched, but in this particular game, they ran it a few times. Particularly to my side, it didn't work at all. But because we talked about it so much and how he wanted me to cover it and when to expect it, so it worked out for me.
So film work is huge.
Huge. Like, I can't stress that enough. I'm telling you right now, he's probably somewhere watching film.
That's what everybody says. Yeah. He's watching film all the time.
He's in his basement somewhere in Baton Rouge right now because he hadn't been able to move yet, I don't think. And
well, I did see where George Munoz put out a picture that he's got the moving van. So he's on his way to Waco. I would imagine Aranda will be following suit as we kind of open things up a little bit more. So that should be happening here pretty quickly.
All right, so I still want to go. You went from Marlin to Navarro to Hawaii. What was it like from a kid in Marlin, Texas, and from Marlin, Texas, or anywhere even like to all of a sudden be playing in Hawaii? It's just the experience of playing in an unbelievable setting.
I was overwhelmed. When I first got, I couldn't believe that I was there. You know, small kid, come from a small town. I'm in Hawaii by myself pretty much. I was. It was a big change for me, but, you know, the people there was really cool. I got to know a lot of people. I got to experience a lot of things. So I settled down and built a lot of relationships with coaches and friends, and it was a really good experience for me.
Hey, Tank, had you seen the ocean before you went there the first time?
Never seen the ocean until I got there.
Wow, so imagine that the first, a lot of people grow up in Texas, they go see the Galveston or somewhere like that, but you got to see why. That's pretty cool.
So you're a pharmaceutical. You work at Allergan, right? The pharmaceutical company. How did that transpire? And I know you got to go, and I've taken more time than we said we would. So thank you. And you also, by the way, he's working on his master's in counseling, mentoring young people with any kind of mental health or physical needs and health needs. What is and that's fantastic, by the way, Tank. Fantastic. How did you get in the pharmaceutical business?
Well, one of my good friends was working there at first, and he, gave me a heads up, hey, they're hiring over here, and I just, happened to, take the job. I've been there for 5 years now. Really good job. I love what I do. But, me going to school for counseling and helping out the youth, it's always good to give back. I feel like out of the knowledge I've attained over the years, I don't give it back, and I'm selfish. So I'm a giving person, so it works out for me.
Well, you can tell. You can tell, and we appreciate that. Hopefully that opportunity for you to meet Coach Aranda will be around the corner, and obviously things are starting to be a little bit not normal, but we're starting to see things and see stories that things are going to get back to somewhat of a normalcy, although we still have to be very careful with that. Hey, Tank, Melvin, right? Is it Melvin Hopkins?
Yes, sir.
Melvin Hopkins. How did you get the name Tank?
My mom gave it to me when I was younger. I used to run over things and run over everything like a tank, so it just stuck with me since then.
Makes sense.
Like a bull in a china shop or something like that. Hey, I really appreciate it. Thanks for reaching out, and I'm glad I got to remember exactly who's the one that sent me the note with him. Tank, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
I appreciate you for having me.
I've got to find the name, and I'll do that in the top of the hour. We'll have Kyle Fuller, former Baylor offensive lineman on the All-Decade team that was released yesterday by SicEm365. So much more to come. This is SicEm365 Radio.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hi, this is Mark Bird, head football coach at Whitney High School, home of the Wildcats, and you're listening to SicEm365 Radio with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, hot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive at 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Waco, Texas, a place with its own unique history and a future bright with promise. Full of remarkable growth and opportunity, and what makes it all work is its people, families, raising children, growing businesses. Wacoans are hardworking with a passion for what's next, and we're proud to be from here, helping Waco to grow and prosper. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
In this day and age, you must be able to change how you do business. Think outside the box to ensure that you service your customers. And at Waco Custom Marketplace, we've created our own drive-thru for your Monday, Wednesday, and Friday shopping needs, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you can still order and enjoy from our great butcher shop and bakery, including 2 pounds of 8-ounce salmon fillets for $24.05, 2 pounds of 4-ounce catfish fillets for $4.90, sliced ham or turkey, American cheese and smoked sausage, fresh chicken breasts, 3.5-pound whole chickens, sliced bacon, boneless pork chops, 80/20 ground beef, 4 pieces of sirloin steak or 4 pieces of ribeye steak from $19 to $35. Marinated beef or chicken fajita meat plus a loaf of bread. Fresh carrots and Idaho or red beef potatoes or white onions. Pinto beans and white rice, flour tortillas. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace with a drive-thru only Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Brewer wants a bunch, left side, got it! Touchdown, Denzel Mims!
Now back to SicEm365 Radio, presented by IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
All right, here we go on SicEm365 Radio. Last night we had one of the godfathers of that Baylor offensive line back early in the decade, Cameron Ophold. He was elected to be a part of that all-decade team. He was not happy. We had him as a second-team offensive lineman. He was very underrated, I think, Cameron, in what his cerebral ability. But we talked about the first team, and one of those, of course, Kyle Fuller, part of the Seattle Seahawks, former Baylor offensive lineman. He joins us here on SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoke. Kyle, first of all, thank you very much. I know you've been honored for a lot of things, but considering the Randy Clements offensive lineman that came through the pipeline right before or after you left, what's it like to be thought of as one of the first-team guys?
Hey, thanks for having me, first off. But it's been great. I mean, I was informed about this, I guess, sometime last week, but I'm honored, honestly, I'm try to remain, as humble as I can, stuff like this, but it's kind of hard to, you tell me, you're all decade offensive lineman, but it's awesome though, and obviously congrats to the other guys that made all-decade team. So.
Yeah, I fell into a bit of a YouTube hole for about 40 minutes today. When I pulled up, I said, you know what year would be some of the best for highlights for Kyle Fuller? And 2014, 2015, just looking at those highlights was absolutely insane, Kyle. I was like, I want to pick one that would be the most Kyle Fuller-ish highlight. It took me a long time for the one for the Open. It was really hard.
Throwback for sure.
Yeah, so playing on an offense like that as an offensive lineman has to be a little surreal in that, most of the time when you come up through high school, as an offensive lineman, it's about grind, and that offense was just at a full sprint all the time. How much of an adjustment was that for you?
Yeah, that was huge. Coming in, that was one of the things that we preached was being able to, maintain a tempo, keep the defense on their heels, and things like that. So it was a huge adjustment, just as far as the conditioning goes. The plays and things like that. Once you got that down, it made it a little bit easier. You didn't really have to think through a whole lot, and you were just able to go out there and play free. So, but it was a good adjustment. So I'm glad that I went through that.
How much competition was there every day, knowing there were grown men in that room, offensive linemen, with guys who transferred in, some that were there? You came out of Wiley that were there as true freshmen and had to grow into men. Can you kind of explain how, I guess, peer pressure or whatever the word might be, to not let anyone down to your right or left?
Yeah, that was probably, I'd say what you just said was probably exactly what kind of motivated a lot of guys, through the competition piece. There were guys who, like you said, that were transferring in from other schools that had a little bit of experience. You had, guys in the room that were older, that had played a lot of ball. So it was kind of, you didn't want to have any drop off, if you will. So whenever you stepped in, you kind of knew it was like, hey, I have to play to the level of these guys, and that's really how the competition really shaped out. It was really best player would win.
Who was the best offensive lineman that you played with?
Ooh, I mean, I can't really say the best. I can't really just name one guy. But I played with some really, really good players. Blake Muir was really good. Spencer Drango, obviously, Jarrell Broxton. I mean, I really can't even just sit and select one guy because everybody had so many different special talents that they really would contribute. And the best part was that we were able to cover each other's weaknesses. With the way that we played. So.
One of the things I want to make sure, because people get their hair in the back of their neck, right, Kyle? That was Abilene Wiley, not the one out of the northeast side of Dallas, but Abilene Wiley High School, which is a very successful school. So what's it like right now with everything on hold?
It's been challenging, but in a good way. It's really challenging for I think athletes right now, just with the workout piece, but. It's challenging. I say it's challenging in a good way because, you're really able to challenge yourself to, stick to your routine or, develop a routine if you don't have one and be able to, continue to do that even though, things are hard, as an athlete. That's really what you have to do. You have to be able to adjust. You have to be able to adapt to things. So, not having a gym, not having a weight room, there are ways that you have to adapt to that. So I'd say that that's been, the biggest piece to that. And, obviously finding other ways to keep yourself busy. So
you were part of a bunch of guys who played center under Randy Clements. What was his key to making guys centers who hadn't been? Because it's not something you just pick up.
Yeah. His first key always was snap first. That was the biggest piece. Guys that would play center there, under him, a lot of times they played other positions, like when I came in, I was tackle. So, the biggest thing was obviously learning how to snap the ball and then block, but that was, I'd say probably, it was kind of like a detail piece. He was able to teach you, to focus on the smallest detail first before you go into, thinking about the bigger picture. So, snap first was probably the main thing that I remember from him. So. still use today.
Yeah, you know what? Philip Blake was not initially a center, right? You weren't.
Right.
And Paul, I don't know, but I didn't get a chance to cover J.D. Walton. I don't think he was there the year. I think he may have, maybe the first year. I'm not sure. But he was he would move you around. Was that kind of a mad scientist that he just kind of, all of you guys were flexible at everywhere you played for the most part? I mean, Drango came in, he's going to play left tackle. I mean, he was that good.
Right.
But was it just kind of like everybody was so well coached by him that it didn't matter where you played?
Yes. I think that was kind of the key for him was making sure that guys were able to have a little bit of versatility to them. Obviously, being able to play multiple positions is important on any offensive line. You know, you never know what's going to happen. With injuries and things like that. So it was that piece, but it was also the knowledge piece to it. As a center, you have to know what everybody does, but it's the same thing for the guards. In the tackles, that's kind of how he was coached. You need to know what everyone does because it makes your job that much easier. It's less thinking, and the less that you have to think, the faster you play. So
you were part of the Big 12 championship, and then of course, the 15 team. If Seth Russell doesn't get hurt, what happens with that team?
Man, I don't know. I talk about this a lot. I think the sky is the limit with that one. I really, things happen for, whatever reason they happen for. But, I think that it would have been a lot different in a good way. That's the best way I can put it.
Well, if all of your quarterbacks don't get hurt,
yeah,
I mean, it's completely not just Seth Russell. That's the big one, but Jared Stidham got hurt, and then Chris Johnson got hurt, and everybody did. Do you ever? I'm sure you do, but do you ever have nightmares about that TCU game in the cold rain?
Oh man, I mean, it's funny. Me and my parents actually talk about that game a lot because they were there, and they were just telling me about how cold it was up in the stands. And, I think at some point I kind of just blacked out in my head and was just playing, the elements are there, but, you don't really realize how cold you are, and, raining, how wet you are until, after the game. So, it was definitely a difficult game,
Kyle, can you try to explain just how difficult it was to play in those conditions? I mean, the ball, obviously the quarterbacks could hardly throw the ball more than 5 yards because the rain would bat it down. Everybody was just having to kind of run the football. So for you as an O-lineman, how much did that change what you were able to do?
Yeah, it really changed just the overall, obviously, mechanics of the offense. We went from, like you said, passing to running the ball, with that point I was telling you about earlier, snap first, that became even more pivotal in conditions like that. You don't want to blown snap, we were at a shotgun all the time. So, that was probably the biggest piece was just, the elements really came in and kind of, they shook up the entire game, offensively and defensively. So, as an offensive lineman, you were just like, hey, this is what, we're here for is, run the ball, obviously pass protect, but it's more of offensive lineman's dream to run the ball, So,
man, those games with Baylor and TCU, even the one that just happened in 19 that went triple overtime, and of course the 61-58. And
the thing is Baylor, or either way you want to put it, Baylor could be 11-0 and TCU could be 0-11, and somehow it would go like triple overtime.
Yeah,
it's amazing those two teams when they play each other.
It really is. You ended up on the 16 team that ended the year with that win in Phoenix, the bowl win against Boise State. Considering the ups and downs, emotions, and the winning and then losing streak and all that was going on, Kyle, with 2016, how much did it mean to the team and coaching staff to win that last game?
Yeah, that was everything. With the circumstances of that year, it was difficult. That year, kind of the team was obviously sticking together, just through everything that we had been through. So it was kind of it was kind of like the cherry on top. That last game, with all the things that we had been through. Going into that game, it was bittersweet. There was a lot of emotions, like you said, that that really carried us through those games. You know, a lot of those games, you know, we didn't win as much as we wanted to, but, you know, I'd say the central theme was sticking together, and I think that we did a really good job of that just that entire year, you know.
Well, you had the 6-0 start, and then obviously and things went south. You had the lead. Seemed like you were about to put Texas away like 3 or 4 times, and it didn't happen. Just as somebody who's on the inside, did that the loss and the way you lost that game, did that like break the dam, or the dam broke after that?
I wouldn't say that there was any particular moment. You know, I think that it was, you know, we had, you know, I guess you'd say that year was, like I said before, we had some difficult times, you know, before that, you know, but it was really about, you know, sticking together. Like I said, I can't really say that it was, you know, a moment in time during the season where it was like, you know, oh man, things were any more difficult than they were before. But, you know, it was, like I said, it was a good challenge. You know, it was a challenge just mentally and physically on a lot of guys, you know, so losses happen.
Yeah. Part of, you know what, made you, no matter how hard it might have been at times, it made you a better man in the end.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
it really did.
Absolutely.
Kyle Fuller, one of the great names in the decade of 2010 and 19 with Baylor, offensive line with us on SicEm365 Radio.
Hey, Kyle, whenever your career wrapped up, I don't know what you thought was in store for the program, but to see what they accomplished this year, they just got done with a weekend with 4 draft picks and 10 undrafted free agents, so 14 guys total going to the league. They had the Sugar Bowl appearance, Big 12 title appearance. I mean, just as an alum and somebody who was there during some really good times, some bad times, but just to see Baylor kind of back in the mix in the national conversation, how meaningful was that to you as a former player?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. You know, just in general, you know, watching the program, you know, turn around how it did, and, you know, obviously under, you know, Coach Rule, and, you know, a lot of the, you know, you got to credit a lot of the young guys too. You know, it was just awesome really just to see everything change how it did. You know, even the year that we went 1-11, you know, even though it was, you know, a bad year, you know, it was still like, it was good to see those guys, you know, growing and learning together, you know. So that was real, you know, big, you know, going into this last year, you know, just seeing the turnaround from then to, you know, now. But yeah, it's awesome. You know, I'm diehard, obviously. So I'm really, you know, just looking forward to this year and, you know, the new coach and everything that's going to happen with that, you know.
All right. Hey, Kyle, thank you for jumping on. I know it's been a hectic time. Spencer Durango, Cyril Richardson, Danny Watkins, Ivory Wade, and Kyle Fuller were the first-team offensive linemen. We mentioned the team yesterday, but it's great that Kyle was able to come on with us today and be a part of it. Thank you so much for your time. I just saw this note, by the way. Your alma mater, Wiley High School in Abilene, right?
They're in Dallas.
Oh, you're at Wiley High School.
In North Dallas, yeah.
The NFL site has it wrong, by the way. You need to tell them that.
Yeah, I try to tell people that, but, you know, sometimes they assume Abilene Wiley. You know?
Okay, that's my fault. That's my mistake. I looked it up. Clay Johnston from Abilene Wiley. Then, of course, he was drafted by the LA Rams out of Baylor, the linebacker. Kyle, thank you very much for being a part of the show.
Thanks for having me, guys.
That's Kyle Fuller. Yeah, on the Seahawks website.
Yeah, it says Abilene Wiley.
Wiley High School, Abilene, Texas, which because of that, I'm thinking, okay, that's my fault.
So we got to trust sources like Wikipedia for birthplaces and whatnot.
Calvin Watkins from the Dallas Morning News, is that right, Paul? Now it covers the Cowboys. A total of 234 high schools contributed to 255 players selected in the NFL draft. Dallas, DeSoto High School, and Wiley High School, where Abilene Wiley High School you know what? He made a mistake too, because Clay Johnston went to Abilene High. So DeSoto had Lavisky Chenault and James Porcher from SMU, who was a fantastic wide receiver.
Right. Yeah, they both came from DeSoto, and I guess the point of his tweet was like the high schools that produce the most. Is that what you were getting at? Most draft picks. Okay, I see his tweet right here. It says a total of 234 high schools contributed to 255 players selected. Dallas had 2 schools that developed multiple picks: DeSoto, Lavisca Chenault, and James Prochet, Wiley, Eno Benjamin, and Clay Johnston. So yeah, Calvin Good guy, but wrong on that because Clay's definitely from Abilene.
I'll send him a text right now. He's a good person. He's been a great part of our show. Mickey Spagnola will join us at the bottom of the hour. Let's come back and look at a couple of things. Brett Favre on Aaron Rodgers and, of course, the Jordan Love selection.
It's great that they get along now.
There's a couple of guys in trouble for trying to steal beer from Neyland Stadium in Tennessee.
It's not being used.
The UIL and how they handle physicals. They have an executive committee meeting tomorrow. And also, I don't know if you've heard about this, Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn on Mark Everett. Oh, my. The quote from her, this is SicEm365 Radio.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
Hi, this is Slato High School football coach Alan Hare, and I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 Radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
We are facing some unique challenges at this time. We want to do our part to support not only our community, but our medical providers who are really overtasked right now. Governor Greg Abbott has required dental offices to postpone all elective dental procedures, but still be available for dental emergencies. At this time, dental emergencies are those that are defined as something that would make somebody consider going to the emergency room for treatment. We're offering to see you at our office Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 to noon, and we will waive all fees. We're doing this to support the community and support the medical system. This will allow the overtasked medical community to focus on the truly needy at this time. In the midst of what seems to be so much gloomy news, we want to send a positive signal of our faith in our community and in each other. We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're 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 all in this together.
We are all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. Thank you and God bless.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
All right, here we go. The Willis Law Firm chat room is open. Love to hear from you on a couple of these topics. Also, the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line is open, 254-339-1122, 254-339-1122. So I got this nugget from somebody who's a high school coach who was putting together a plan about when, in fact, high schools ever do start to think about getting back on campus, practices, whatever. I know that, who knows? The UIL is going to have an executive meeting tomorrow. Committee's going to meet. And one of the things they're going to talk about, and this is from an email that was shared with me, is whether or not the players will need to have to pass a physical. The student athletes, whoever, whatever sports. And what they're looking at is, because of what we've gone through here, is that there are 6 boxes. If you check any one of them, and I don't know what it could be, like whatever these 6 boxes, flu in the last 6 months, like me with double pneumonia 35 years ago, whatever, right? I don't know what the boxes are going to be, but if you check any of these 6 boxes as a student in high school who needs to pass a physical, then you have to take one. But if you don't cross any of the 6, you don't have to take a physical this year. That's not yet been official, but they're talking about it.
Yeah, but see, then there's going to be insurance issues on, last year he passed a physical. Well,
they have, if you have any underlying issues.
Yeah, how many people don't know?
But you got 6 boxes, though. You still have to check them.
You also sometimes you don't know that you have one until something happens.
You have many.
Yeah, I do. I have lots of them. But you don't know until you have them. I mean, until something happens.
I know.
Yeah.
Marsha Blackburn, senator from Tennessee, one of the harshest critics of Mark Emmert, asked about the NCAA wanting antitrust exemption. Her quote, "I want to see them learn how to make a decision first."
Hey, amen.
Wouldn't that be nice? They don't have to committee everything to death. Isn't that true? Blackburn believes Congress can pass an NIL bill this year. The Senate can walk and chew gum at the same time. We're going to be able to confirm judges, do work on privacy. We're going to continue to do it all. We're going to give the NCAA a chance to get their act together, but I think their leadership is weak. They're tentative, have shown they can't come through with requisite list of standards. If they are that ineffective, we'll do this for them. Wait a minute. Is Congress in session?
I don't know. I mean, you can be at any time. I mean, they can call emergency sessions.
I don't think all of them are working.
No.
Right?
Don't look over here. I have no idea on politics.
All of them don't work all the time anyway.
I know, but the fact that I know, yes, exactly. So it's not.
Well, they are apparently discussing ways to punish China for coronavirus. Yeah, they're in session.
This is from a place. This is from Congress, who themselves are stuck.
Well, of course, they never look at themselves. I mean, that's like obvious.
Well, look here. I've got their easy solution on coronavirus. We owe China a bunch of money. Let's not give it to them now.
Yeah,
you created our economy, so we don't have the money we owe.
Yeah, I know.
We don't have the money we owe
Let's
you.
stop doing things there and let's start doing everything as we can.
That's what needs to happen.
Let's go straight up Sopranos. Like, hey, I owed you money, but you burned down the building I make my money in, so I can't give you my money. It's it. So that's it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
But with Marsha Blackburn and Congress, what's funny about Congress and the NCAA is the NCAA is an easy target. And yes, she's absolutely right. All the things she said were absolutely 100% true. But Congress does the same thing. I mean, like, they're the same.
That's what I just said.
It's so hypocritical.
They're all stuck. Okay.
Yeah. And they're not going to make anything better. And if the NCAA doesn't get on their horse, then Congress will get involved because they are low-hanging fruit.
By the way, Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Craig endorses them on the show every day. Again, the Baylor segment sponsors here on SicEm365 on Imperial Exit just off of Loop 340. From Leon on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine hotline, or text line, excuse me. Nope, they're at home. Talking about Congress. All right, now, Brett Favre. Craig, you're the one that printed this out. Brett Favre said he thinks that Aaron Rodgers will probably end up doing kind of what Brett Favre did. Is that correct?
Yeah, he thinks that his future's not long with Green Bay, and that because of the way they handled the Jordan Love situation, it's going to be difficult for Green Bay to mend those fences. And Brett Favre, he was doing some type of radio interview, said that it's not anything against Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers apparently had reached out and made the phone call to Jordan Love, and they're all good. It's nothing against the player. It's the franchise that's now created this issue out of complete nowhere, mind you, with years left on his contract. So, yeah, Favre has obviously talked to Aaron, and they've got a good relationship now after it was a bit icy when Rodgers first arrived in the Jordan Love position. But they're good now, and he wouldn't say everything that they talked about, but he made it very clear that Aaron Rodgers isn't all that thrilled with what happened over the weekend or over last Thursday night, or was that Friday? Yeah, Thursday night. Yeah. So he wasn't real thrilled over that, and he would not be surprised to see him finishing his career elsewhere.
Well, if Brady did, if he did, if Manning did, all these other guys have. So it's not surprising that he would.
I mean, here's the thing. We're going to watch probably Lamar Jackson playing for like the Seahawks in 7 years. You know what I mean? Mm. Or Deshaun Watson's going to finish his career with the Jaguars. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. And, you would think he would be a lock to be that Elway, that franchise one single team played for the entire time. That just doesn't even exist anymore hardly. Yeah. I mean, the Ddcuments and the Elways are just so very, very rare, and I would not be surprised to see Aaron Rodgers go on a vindication tour at some point. And how mad would you be? Don't even include the Jordan Love thing. Draft me a dadgum wide receiver, could you please? Give me some freaking help.
I still think Mike McCarthy did that just... Yeah, Jerry.
They didn't. Yeah, I read a great column by Bill Barnwell today about Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love and what makes more sense. And Jalen Hurts makes more sense because Carson Wentz
is hurt all the time.
Is hurt. He's only missed 8 total games, but he's missed 8 games at crucial times, including in the postseason. Or 8 regular season games. He's only played in 1 postseason game, Carson Wentz has. So you have all that you have to guard against. And Jalen Hurts is not going to be Taysom Hill. They're not going to do that with him. He's more of a pure quarterback who's a little limited with his throwing. But in the case of Jordan Love going there for Aaron Rodgers, while one could say it's a smart move, they got a 36-year-old quarterback who's certainly, on the downturn of his career. It was the second-round pick, he said, that was more mind-boggling because they have Aaron Jones at running back. They drafted A.J. Dillon out of Boston College. He wasn't even the highest-rated running back available for them at that spot. And a defensive tackle. They didn't lose last year because they didn't have good wide receivers in the NFC Championship game. They lost because San Francisco ran straight down their throat last year.
Okay, one other note, Craig, either one of you guys gave this to me about Neyland Stadium in Tennessee. 2 people charged with attempting to steal more than $600 worth of beer after breaking into the Neyland Stadium, University of Tennessee campus over the weekend. Dispatched shortly before 11 o'clock Saturday night, after as many as 5 people were spotted on security cameras inside the stadium. They arrived to catch 3 people inside in a perimeter fence near Gate 22. The total beers between them were valued at $624.
Yeah, I think they each had like a 12-pack in each hand. It said like a couple of them got caught with it's like each person had 24 beers total, and they slid under the fence. They got under, I guess, some loose fence.
Surprising they could get in.
They won't anymore.
No,
it's going to be Fort Knox there at Neyland now, but
ruined it for everybody at Rocky Top.
What I didn't understand about this, though, is, okay, so you get into the stadium. How do you get into the locker where all the beer's being stored? How do you get into other doors? I mean, just because the outside's locked up, you think you lock that inside stuff up too for this very reason.
Maybe a crowbar, or maybe they broke.
Maybe you just turn doorknobs until you find one that's open.
People are they're listen. Maybe there was a liquor store that closed early. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
One of the things that Greg Abbott said though, that
I saw that
alcohol to go might become permanent.
Wow.
Now there are parts of this state that, as you know, will fight that tooth and nail like it's 1927. And there's parts of that state will be like, woo!
Yeah. There's some that fought it for many, many hundreds of years that are now like, hey, we can make a lot of money doing this.
Now they love that money they're getting, don't they?
When we come back, Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com, SicEm365 Radio.
Waco, Texas, our city of remarkable growth and opportunity with an even brighter future ahead. What makes it all work is our people living, working, and growing together. And we're proud to be from here, helping and serving the community we call home. We are the First National Bank of Central Texas, taking great pride in being locally owned and operated. Come see us at any of our 5 convenient locations. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Texas Board Certified Personal Injury Trial Lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
Dr. Kent Petty wants you to be the highest performance man you want to be. Are you sluggish, lack energy? Do you suffer from low sex drive? Petty Clinic Low T offers discounted comprehensive lab work to check on your various levels that can make a difference. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be with higher energy and stamina and improved sex drive, but also the healthiest and high performance man. Screening for cardiac heart disease risk, EKG, cholesterol panel, blood pressure monitoring, testosterone or growth hormone deficiency, male infertility, hepatitis C, and prostate cancer screening. Petty Clinic Low T offers replacement therapy for testosterone or growth hormones, weight management therapy, and nutritional advice. It's not only time for you to be the man you want to be, with higher energy, stamina, and improved sex drive, but the healthiest and highest performance man. PettyClinicLowT.com, PettyClinicLowT.com on Old Hewitt Road, just off Highway 84 in Woodward. PettyClinicLowT.com.
Hi, this is Conley football coach Shane Anderson. I'm a proud listener and supporter of the all-new SicEm365 Radio show with David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recall drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at TexasTrialLawyer.com. Principal office located in Houston, Texas.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Earlier today, we discussed this, that the Cowboys are assigning the legacy of number 88, CeeDee Lamb, first-round pick out of Oklahoma. The numbers, my goodness, with Michael Irvin, obviously Drew Pearson, Des Bryant. Yes, there was Antonio Bryant, but still, it means something. And Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. That doesn't mean it always works out, but, boy, they've been pretty good with this number 88, Mick.
Yeah, and I think they've been fairly selective with it, too. And so that tells you, I mean, if the draft didn't tell you what the Cowboys thought of CeeDee Lamb, I think this, and if it does, this reinforces what they think he can be. I don't know what you guys think, but as much as I got to see him play, I was astounded that he was sitting there at number 17 for the Cowboys to take.
I'll tell you what, Mickey, Baylor's probably the Big 12 champs if not for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and all you got to do is watch him play. You know, you don't have to be a professional scout to figure out that this guy's got something special. His catch radius is unbelievable. His ability to run with the ball after the catch and just catch the ball, go up and high point it. You know, go, and I might have told you guys this. I just said it so many times when we were talking about what the Cowboys needed to do at 17 and need this and need that. And I said, that's all fine and good. But what if you're sitting there and by some chance CeeDee Lamb falls to you at 17? You got to take him, right? Mm-hmm. You know, to me, he's going to be the Cowboys' Deebo Samuel. And I was a fan of Deebo. I saw him kick Missouri's butt for a couple of years with South Carolina. And I was hoping he'd follow the Cowboys. Didn't quite make it there. But this guy, he reminds me of that all-purpose guy. You can hand it to him. You can throw it to him. And if the other team wants to kick it to him, I'll let him go out there and catch that too.
Players over system is the catchphrase we've heard from Mike McCarthy. Is that a departure from what they were doing before?
Oh, I think that for especially defensively, I think they had a mold of what they were trying to fit into Rod Marinelli's defense. And I think that, you know, they wouldn't pass up a really good player, but again, they kind of were stuck on, okay, this is the type of defensive tackle we want. And the minute McCarthy got to the Cowboys, he basically said, just get me a good football player and I'll figure out what to do with him. Let's not pass up a guy that's got talent because he doesn't fit this mold or that mold or this type of defense or this style of defense. Just get me good players. And I think the Cowboys kind of followed that philosophy for the most part in this draft. They really didn't force anything. They let the draft come to them, and really the only kind of, to me, bold move they made, and to me it was somewhat out of necessity, is they traded up a 5th-round pick to get up in the last pick in the 4th to get a center. And, you know, I was thinking, you know, second day, grab a center. Third day early, grab a center. Because they didn't have anybody on this roster going into the draft that actually started the game at center last year. And to tell me you're going to switch guys to center, maybe, or you're going to play a backup at center after you've been spoiled by a 5-time Pro Bowler, I wasn't buying into that. At least this guy has hand on the football and started games and played center last year, even if it was in college.
Going back to the 88s for a second, because I don't know when we're going to see Antonio Bryant trending on Twitter again and a whole wave of people learning about him for the first time. But, Mick, do you have any kind of particular memory or anything from the Antonio Bryant era, if you will, in Dallas?
Antonio Bryant. Yeah, he he got upset with Bill Parcells at practice one day and took the towel off his belt and threw it at Parcells.
Yep.
And I figured, he probably doesn't have much of a future here after that.
Probably going to get cut. Yeah, probably going to get cut. Yeah, I just didn't know when we're going to ever talk about him again, so I figured today would be the day to ask you a question about Antonio Bryant. Mickey, do you think there was much of a decision to be made? You know, even though Chason was a guy, and I know you've been emphatic about how Lamb was a great pick, and I agree with that, but do you think it was even difficult for them to really think over, or was it, as soon as they knew that he was going to be available, that was the easy choice?
I think it was an easy choice. They would have taken Chason. I'm pretty sure of that. That's what they were looking at. They would have been looking at him or a cornerback. And they liked Diggs, which was amazing to them, I think, that he was still there when they were picking in the second round. And I'll go one further. When they were picking in the second round, they were considering Neville Gallimore at that pick and trying to get the corner in the third. And they said, no, let's take Diggs. And then Gallimore lasted to him. So things fell awfully well for them. But go back to your original question. I'm sure they talked about it, but I didn't talk very long because this is the 6th guy they had on their board, right. The top wide receiver. And they needed a receiver at some point. Now, you might say, well, you didn't need to spend that much on a receiver, another first-round pick. But my goodness, this guy, I mean, he's got skills to last. And, and if you look at the contract they gave Amari Cooper, in 2 years, there's an out clause there that if they don't like what they see. So, and I think the good thing when they looked at the receiver is this guy wasn't just this type of receiver or that type of receiver. He can play inside. He can play outside. Whatever you want to do with him on the field. I had a funny question last night. I did a Zoom thing with a group of people, and one of the questions was, how do the Cowboys use CeeDee Lamb? And my answer was, put him on the field. I don't care where you put him, just put him on the field.
You mentioned how they had things break for them, and there were many years up until maybe the last 3 to 5. Not that they didn't have success with the draft, but it seemed like they always sometimes hyperventilated or overextended, and they didn't always let the draft come to them, which maybe Pittsburgh for years and years did, or perhaps it was Green Bay for a while, or whoever else. Not that everyone's perfect. Is that just something that they've learned through maturity and the new, what you call, circle, including Will McClay?
Well, David, it's been actually going on for quite some time. I saw a stat that only one team in this decade has produced more Pro Bowl players than the Cowboys, and it was Kansas City. And it was, I think, 15-13. So they were doing something right. It's just hard for the Cowboys to please everybody out there, and they're easy to pick on. Now, they made mistakes, right? Taco Charlton, he more is welcome out in Miami, right? Got released today, which is funny because I had written a note about him in my notes column yesterday, basically saying, this would have been the time the Cowboys would have had to, if they kept him, decide if they were going to put the guarantee that 5th year. And so I looked at what he did in Miami, and he led the team with 5 sacks. Well, that was the team leader, 5 sacks. He played 10 games. He only started 5, and he was inactive 3 of the last 4 because it sounded like the coach didn't like his attitude. Well, they confirmed that today by releasing him. So, yeah, bad pick. But again, when you're picking late in drafts, it gets a little bit more dicey. When you get past 20, chances are you probably don't have 20 or more than 20 first-round grades on players in a draft. But this year, they had 2 guys with first-round grades that they were able to get with CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs, and a second-round grade on Gallimore, and they even had a higher grade on Reggie Robinson than where they got him in the 4th round. So I don't know, maybe their grades aren't great or whatever, but they're their grades. And Will McClay made a really good point this week, talking about there was less confusion on, okay, we set our board, and then you start looking around and what other people are doing, and you start questioning, well, did we do this right? And he goes, there was no questioning about that because there was no sources, right? Everybody was at home. No one was traveling. No one was kibitzing about who might take what. And they stayed true to the board, and it certainly worked. Jerry even admitted it. He part of that press conference after the draft, he said, I don't know what we ate, what we wore, or where we sat, but we need to do it again because things fell to us.
Mickey, who is your favorite pick outside of CeeDee Lamb?
Oh, I would say it was the trade up for Tyler Beatis. I just thought they needed a guy, and I kind of explained already why. I didn't like the prospects of maybe not having a off season, and who knows when the start of training camp will occur. And you're talking about Connor McGovern switching from guard to center, and he hadn't played center since 2017 at Penn State, or Connor Williams moving from guard to center. He'd never played center. And then you're sitting there going, okay, I'm going to live with Joe Looney. Well, Joe Looney was fine, but you probably want more than fine. And not so much that the guy's talent at center, but the fact that he did this at a high level in college, the Remington Award winner, and he's been calling the line signals, and he's been diagnosing what's been going on the other side of the line for the quarterback. That's as important as being a great blocker. So to me, that was my favorite pick.
Mickey, thank you. The draft is over. Now we wait, although there seems to be some weeds that are starting to sprout through the ground, that there's possibilities of things moving. It's just going to take a little time. Everyone remains patient, but thanks for your time, and hopefully one of these days we'll actually talk about them being back in Frisco.
Yeah, that would be great, but the one thing that you got to remember about the NFL, because they have teams in some hot spots right now where the coronavirus is still growing, this league will not allow teams in certain states that are opening up to open up. They want it all equitable, so it'll be all or nothing. So if they're not comfortable with the Giants and Jets opening up their camps, then the other 30 teams will not open up. It'll all be together. So I got a feeling, I don't know, we may have to go through another month and then see what happens.
Thank you, Mickey Spagnola, with us on Thursdays, 4:30. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. Remember, Darren Heitner will join us. He's a sports law attorney. He'll join us today at the top of the hour.
How about Taco Charlton? How about that pick that the Cowboys made instead of T.J. Watt?
T.J. Watt's now trending on Twitter, by the way, because of that.
Is that why?
Taco Charlton, yeah.
Yeah, I bet so. Hey, everybody's got their mulligans they wish they had back, but I had not seen until Mickey mentioned that the Taco Charlton release. Not that it's all that surprising, but man, just what a waste of talent. You've been in the league for, 3 years, a first-round pick, and you've already burned through 2 teams? Yeah. You're not even off your rookie deal yet, dude. And now he's got less than $2 million remaining on his rookie contract, but if somebody wanted to pick him up, they would be on the hook for that unless they renegotiated, which is likely what would happen for less money. So he's already starting to lose money in year 3, basically, or year 4, I guess, of his rookie deal, and that's just, man, you hate to see it. Yeah. It's just such a waste.
Yeah. And I still do have a lot of respect for Rod Marinelli. Mm-hmm. But he had 2 stand-on-the-table picks, and it was his last 2, Taco Charlton and Tristan Hill, and the jury remains out on Tristan Hill.
Yeah, I was thinking about asking Mickey about him, but I thought I'd wait.
But Tristan Hill runs the risk of having that old Josh Rosen treatment of where,
for sure.
Especially with they got Neville Gallimore. They still have Antoine Woods. And they have Don Terry Poe and Gerald McCoy that they signed in free agency. So right now, as I stand, he's at best 4th ahead of Neville Gallimore, but more than likely 5th because I think Neville Gallimore is already outworking him not doing anything. Mm-hmm. I was there at training camp when he sloughed off and didn't pass the conditioning test on the first day. And he's a fun guy to talk to, but I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
He's a fun guy to talk to.
If we had Tristan Hill in this room right now, he'd have us all laughing. He said a bunch of stories. He sat in the tent with me after the interview was over, and we talked for 20 minutes because he didn't have anywhere to go. And it was nice, and it was like, man, seems like a really nice kid. But I walked away from it. I remember telling Smokey that day I'm not sure that he understands what he's in for in the NFL.
Yeah, it's always weird when you see that too, right? When you're at a training camp or something and you just get the vibe that a guy's not quite getting it or understanding it. It's really kind of strange when you witness that because it doesn't happen really all that often. I mean, the Cowboys, we're talking about 2 guys in particular, but for the most part, they've drafted really, really well. It's just in the case of these 2 guys, one's still on the team. It's just like, what do you not get? Like, what's not clicking in your brain that you've got easy millions to make? And I don't mean easy as if the working out and the preparing for a season and the grind of that's easy work. It's not. But my gosh, a lot of people would do it to make the money that these guys are making. These guys are just blowing it off like it's like, hey, I'll get a better job. No, you won't. No, you won't. I promise you won't unless you invent the cure for coronavirus or something. You're not getting a better job than what you got right now.
No, and the Cowboys, after the disastrous 2009 draft, which was by far their worst draft in team history, which is, not hard to do when the first 25 of them were done by Gil Brandt, the guy who invented it. But, so they had and then the ones right after Gil Brandt were done by Jimmy Johnson, who was really good at it too. But that 2009 draft was the apex of, they had, and Smokey, you can speak to this because you were covering them a lot at the time.
I just looked at it and it's way worse.
Stephen Hodge and all those guys, right?
It was kind of the intersection of 11 different philosophies, from like the old philosophies to this new stuff, all kind of colliding, and they were very conceited about how good their team was. Oh, we're just going to draft guys to play.
They said, we don't need any starters. We're fine. Let's draft special teams and backups.
Because no one tears ACLs anymore?
Yeah.
In 2009?
It was a nightmare.
But they learned from that.
It's a nightmare. We got to take a break.
Yeah.
I can't believe...
How are you forcing us to take a break?
That I'm the one that's the only soul of this...
I'll tell you, we still have 2 minutes before we have to.
So there you go. So I can say this now.
All
right. So the Cowboys in that 2009 draft, their first pick was in the 3rd round. Mm-hmm. So that kind of puts you behind the 8 ball a little bit, but that's because they were so set up we don't need starters.
Why wasn't their pick until the 3rd round?
Refresh me.
Roy Williams.
Oh yeah, Roy Williams. UT Roy, not the good OU Roy.
Darren Heitner will join us. He's a sports law attorney. He'll join us today in the 5 o'clock hour to go over many things NCAA and the name, image, likeness stories that came out of that.
Well, let me run through this list real quick on that draft, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Just finish that up. Linebacker Jason Williams was their first pick, which is a third-round pick. Robert Brewster, O-tackle out of Ball State. Stephen McGee. Victor Butler, linebacker. Brandon Williams, defensive end. D'Angelo Smith, Michael Hamlin, David Beeler, Stephen Hodge, safety out of TCU, who's an East Texas kid.
He's a head coach at Marlin. Now he's an assistant coach at Katy.
Yeah, John Phillips, tight end. Mike Mickens, corner out of Cincinnati. And then Manny Johnson, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
From Gilmer High School.
The best player out of that draft was Victor Butler.
But you know what? I'd like to, we can criticize it, but I'd love to know if you could go all the way back to end of April of those who were the beat writers and how they, because you know how, I want to see what they said about the draft.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's still stuff still is online.
Let's also not forget, a little bit unique with that class, they're the ones that were under the bubble when they had the massive storm come through Dallas and destroy Valley Ranch and almost got killed. Some of them almost, that's one of the scouts, Chris, remember,
paralyzed.
One of them is paralyzed. Yeah, not Chris, but one of the scouts was paralyzed. So that's kind of that doomed them. Unfortunately.
Wow. So granted, it's Bleacher Report, so it could be like a 13-year-old kid wrote this article back in 2009. That's actually probably likely. But from Bleacher Report, which I don't take a lot of stock into really much of anything else of the entertainment of it.
Especially back then.
Yeah, definitely not analysis. But back then, that class, B+ from Bleacher Report.
Yeah, there you go.
How? I mean,
B+.
Their first guys were from northern Illinois.
But I bet they weren't the only ones. I bet there were others.
No, I know.
Yeah, I know there were others. Gilbrandt's already about to start tweeting out the top seniors by position for the 2021 draft. By the way.
Hey, I can tell you that at that time, I was furious about it. I thought it was the dumbest thing. When they came in, we don't need starters. You don't know when you're going to need starters.
Yeah, but you know what I remember about that?
The NFL's a hard game.
Remember the bubble, the storm? I'm playing golf at Garden Valley Golf Course just off I-20 in East Texas, just outside of Lindale. And then all of a sudden that story hits, and I have to give up my golf game because there's two guys from East Texas, not just the fact that there's others. At the time, Manny Johnson from Oklahoma Gilmer and then Stephen Hodge from Tatum, TCU. I had to start wondering if they're okay. I had to start dealing with that. And I remember Stephen sending me a text. He was like, I'm okay. It was horrible. All right, coming up next, Darren Heitner. He will help break down whatever the NCAA was trying to do yesterday. Did they do it right? He's a sports agent. He's written 2 sports law books, University of Florida Law, so he's brilliant. How to Play the Game podcast, much more. His thoughts about the NCAA and the NIL recommendations next on SicEm365 Radio.
Did want to make mention, I just checked it out. Footballsfuture.com had the Cowboys 2009 draft class as a C- with their best pick being Stephen McGee. That was obviously way off, but what's not way off is the way that you will be treated at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Last month, they celebrated 21 years of serving Waco and Central Texas for Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your own terms. Employee health is closely monitored. They disinfect the showroom every single day. They wash their hands and disinfect all around with great frequency to make sure that when you walk in, you don't have any worries about it being dirty or anything like that. Richard Carr sales staff will also bring a car to you for a test drive, and they can complete financing online. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores, Enclaves are in stock. 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. How about the 2020 GMC Sierras, or Acadias, or Terrains, or the Canyons? They're all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. Your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni want the chance to earn your business, get great prices, and also get free oil changes with a new purchase and in-town priority warranty service. All comes with your purchase at Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
An ideal Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wraps, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio. The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate at 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Baylor trying to go 6-0. Hasty to the end zone. Touchdown. Baylor wins in double overtime.
SicEm365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. When life is stressful, there's an ideal solution. Ideal MRI. Here's David Smoke, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoke.
He founded at Heitner Legal, teach at Florida Law School, authored 2 sports law books, started at Sports Agent Blog. He writes for at ATL Blog and also on Twitter with several people that follow him when it comes to sports law or business. Darren Heitner joins us at Darren Heitner on Twitter. David Smoke, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoke on on SicEm365 Radio. So Darren, I've seen a lot of these quotes. In fact, I think your last tweet from Donna Shalala, Marcia Blackburn, Chris Murphy, Republican Rep. A. Gonzalez. Did we learn anything new yesterday from the NCAA? Were they just kind of pushing things down the road?
Thanks for having me.
You too.
A few pretty important people that have already commented on these recommendations, these 31 pages and 14,000 words that say a whole lot of nothing. I mean, as Donna Shalala said, it's a PR document. And unfortunately, a lot of people fell for it. I mean, you got the push notification on your phone, perhaps. You read a few articles, and it looks like the NCAA has finally done what it said it would do, although only a year ago said it would never do, which is allow college athletes to make money off of their names, images, and likenesses. But if you actually read through the 31 pages, you quickly learn that, well, a lot of the things that they're talking about does not create a free market. The NCAA wants to regulate it. They want to be part of every component, every facet of it. And there would be a lot of exclusions. I mean, for instance, the NCAA wants to set up these quote unquote guardrails, essentially saying that every single opportunity that an athlete finds would have to first be approved. Realistically, how would that even occur? How would that occur on a national level when you have let's say, over 1,000 different universities with all these different players in a variety of sports with very small to large deals. And what are going to be the criteria where the NCAA decides whether or not something should or shouldn't be approved? That's a big issue. And it's not clear whatsoever in these documents. There's other issues, and we can get into them with regard to the regulation of sports agents, the fact that the NCAA doesn't want to allow college athletes to make money from shoe and apparel companies, which look at professional athletes. That's their bread and butter off the court, off the field. Even down the line, we're at the near end of the document. The NCAA is basically asking Congress to give it an antitrust exemption. I mean, what's that all about? So, to be honest, what the NCAA did yesterday, look, I understand its recommendations. I understand it's different than the position they've held before, which is that under no circumstances can college athletes make money off their names, images, and likenesses. And I understand that nothing will be voted on until January of 2021. But in my state of Florida, we've passed legislation. It's sitting on the governor's desk. He will sign it. And our law will go effective July 2021. If the NCAA doesn't change its course, it could be interesting come next year.
Darren, you mentioned the antitrust exemption, which is kind of comical in and of the fact that there's also kind of a mention in that the reason they can't have a video game is that professional leagues have players associations that kind of shepherd some of the things that go into video games, which sounds to me like they don't want an antitrust. They want an antitrust exemption, but they also don't want to let the players have an association or a union either. So,
right.
Which is it?
Well, exactly. They're speaking outside of both sides of their mouth. And it's so interesting. They take this position that group licensing is something that's completely off the table. Meanwhile, it is something that the NCAA has talked about before. So I guess in the past 2-3 months, it's decided that that's no longer an option. And consumers across the country, yeah, I'm sure a lot of them care about the players and believe that they should be making money off of their names, images, and likenesses. But they want NCAA football back. They want the video game. And without group licensing, that ain't happening. So what's so interesting that you bring up is that the NCAA wants the antitrust exemption and wants to be very careful. They basically want Congress to say that or classify college athletes as not being employed. That's the NCAA's biggest fear. That if they're able to unionize, well, maybe that gets them closer to being classified as employees. Then they can get wages. Then they can get benefits. Then a lot of the benefits that the NCAA sees because of this veil of amateurism goes away. But you really don't need to create a union in order for group licensing to occur. In fact, you can have third parties organize the players in a trade association. The NFL Players Association has already come out and said it's fine. It wants to take on that task, and it's willing to. So, again, I'm upset that the NCAA has taken this stone cold position that group licensing, a really important component for the players and obviously for the consumers, is now off the table when it shouldn't be.
Darren, when I saw that documentary yesterday, I had many of the same thoughts as you. I thought it was a big nothing burger, basically. And forgive me if this is a bit of a silly question, but is there any aspect of what's being discussed right now where the NCAA does have a bit of an argument or maybe a proper level of concern versus just fighting everything that's being thrown at them?
No, look, I understand where the NCAA is coming from. To the extent that the general public believes that boosters should not be able to have undue influence on players, then there should be some gatekeeping capacity. Although I don't think that should come by way of the NCAA, which is a loose association of all the member schools. Instead, I think it should be the compliance departments within each school. And if you look at our legislation in the state of Florida, which I helped draft and promote, and I'd urge the NCAA to take a close look at it. First of all, it doesn't need to be 31 pages. What they wrote yesterday could have been 1 to 2 pages. And in our legislation, it's less than 10. But what we do is we allow the universities to play a gatekeeper role and ensure, to the best of their capacity, that the players or the boosters aren't using this as a vehicle to just infiltrate and throw money at players. And one of the things that we do is we limit these opportunities to individuals who are actually enrolled in college. So prior to that, it would be impermissible to accept any sort of deal if you are a high school athlete, for instance. You would lose your intercollegiate athletic ability. Additionally, the colleges would be able to determine whether or not an offer would violate some sort of exclusivity clause, because you don't want the players to be embroiled in litigation based on entering into a deal that runs contrary to some sort of exclusivity that the school has with a third-party company. But the NCAA, again, if you take the position that the boosters should not be having this type of control, even though they obviously donate to the universities, then yeah, I get it. The NCAA wants guardrails in place. The biggest problem I have with the document is in 31 pages, it says absolutely nothing about any objective standards that the NCAA will use in order to determine whether a deal is authentic or not. And if it's going to be a subjective standard, I can see tons of abuse, and it won't be fair to the players.
Darren Heitner, now you know why we have him on with all of what he can help us break down. By the way, Baylor did get a commitment, Craig, real quickly before we go back to Darren.
Yeah, offensive lineman Connor Heffernan from Georgetown High School is committed to Baylor.
We had a player on today who committed yesterday to Baylor, and he wants to be a part of designing shoes, tennis shoes, quarterback out of the Houston area. But what he talked about was classes and majors at Baylor in business. One of them is like entrepreneurship. Do you think there's a chance that because of whatever they eventually decide, Darren, that schools will start to have some sort of role in connecting players to business opportunities?
I'm going to give a quick shout out to one of my former Baylor cornerback clients, Xavier Howard, down here.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question, the answer is no. And I hope the answer is no, because what we're trying to accomplish in Florida and hopefully on the national level is a system where the schools are not involved whatsoever, other than in that limited gatekeeper capacity that I mentioned previously. And a key element is we don't want Title IX to become involved in this whole equation. And so monies and opportunities really shouldn't be flowing through the universities. Now, will an entrepreneurship program or a class be more advantageous for an individual to take? Absolutely. I mean, we should be encouraging college athletes to become entrepreneurs and have real skills that they're learning other than just being athletes at the universities. And you'll probably note throughout this conversation, I haven't used the term student athletes at all. I use college athletes because I think we're lying to ourselves if we think that they're students first. I mean, some of them are, but the vast majority of them aren't. But would I love to see them become more involved in academia and focus on these types of courses? Absolutely. And to be honest, I think that they'd be more interested in these types of courses if they knew that they could benefit from them directly and immediately. Think about the opportunities that these individuals have that individuals did not have in the past. A lot of these endorsement opportunities come by way of social media. I've seen it in my own practice, not with college athletes, but with professional athletes. A big component of every deal is the deliverable, whether it be on Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth. And so I think these types of courses and programs at universities will be able to help these college athletes by giving them the tools that they need to succeed. And another thing that's really important is to make sure that these college athletes have the access to representatives who can help them procure opportunities and negotiate them. I'm not against allowing agents to be a part of that process. I'm against the NCAA regulating the agent profession when the states already do that. And I think that there can be a lot of conflict with the NCAA's proposal where now they're going to get into the business of regulating agents too.
Darren, is part of this, the NCAA, releasing this, is this almost, because I guess I don't know who there is to negotiate with, but if this is the first round of a negotiation where they say, well, this is what we want, and then, Congress or whoever, the states can say, well, that's not acceptable, go back to the drawing board.
It's a PR play, and it's a reactionary play. If California didn't come out initially and pass legislation, sign it into law, which is effective 2023, followed by my state of Florida enacting law or passing legislation that will be signed, enacting it in July 2021. You also have 20-plus states that are looking at similar legislation currently. Absent that, do you think the NCAA would even deliver anything like that yesterday? Absolutely not. This is completely reactionary. A year ago, the NCAA said that allowing college athletes to exploit their names, images, and likenesses for commercial gain would be opening up Pandora's box. And that's pretty inflammatory, right? So what are they doing? They're trying to prevent more states from taking this seriously, debating legislation, and potentially passing it. And if other states are concerned, especially those in the Southeastern Conference, that Florida may get some sort of unfair advantage starting July 2021, my bet is those states are going to start thinking about their own legislation and passing it. And then at that point, what's the NCAA do? Now it's playing even more defense. So, yeah, they'd love to get the federal government involved. They spend a lot of money in lobbying. The problem is the federal government is notoriously slow on any issue. When it first started thinking about this, you had the impeachment trial of President Trump, and now you have COVID-19, bigger issues. And look, there are still other priorities above college sports for the federal government. Now, there are individuals who have come out and said, we need change now in Capitol Hill, but I just don't think there are enough people paying attention to it yet.
Darren, as far as the horizon, what's kind of the next thing as far as this particular story goes? What should be on the lookout next for those following along with this story?
So the next step for the NCAA is in October of this year, it's supposed to come out with actual legislation that will ultimately be voted on by January of 2021. And if that legislation is adopted, then the theory is it will go into effect prior to the start of the 2021-22 academic calendar. So those sports would be affected, primarily, obviously, college football next year. But again, if what we saw yesterday isn't changed to the extent that a state like Florida feels comfortable with it, what we could end up having is the NCAA passing that legislation, enacting some sort of change, it not being enough, and you have a freer market that's created in a state like Florida. And I get it. That could create issues. And the NCAA could make it a really easy fix. Just remove the line in the bylaws that says college athletes can't exploit their name, image, and likeness, and we can move on. But of course, it complicates things more than it needs to.
They can't do things easily. that's the one thing we know.
Yeah, Darren, you mentioned Xavier Howard. We had Phil Bennett, former Baylor defensive coordinator, on the show Tuesday, and he told us a story about the recruitment of Xavier Howard. I don't know if you've heard this or not. You might have. But when he was in high school in Houston, a lot of people knew about his talent, but they weren't recruiting him because on his transcript with his grades, next to 1, 2, or 3 grades was the letter R. And a lot of people thought that meant remedial. So Phil Bennett one day down there visiting with Carlton Buckles, an assistant coach at Baylor, asked, I guess, a counselor or a teacher what the R meant, and it meant he was taking those classes at a remote building. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, my God. And so that opened up, like, all of a sudden, this talented, now the best contract in pro football as a corner, they were able to land him where everyone shied away from him because they did not, it was just one of those things. I just thought we'd share that with you because he told us that story on Tuesday.
It's funny because I'm supposed to be speaking with Xavier in about half an hour, so I'm going to bring it up with him.
Tell him we said hi. Tell him we all said hi.
I will.
In Waco. He's a great young man. I'm just really happy for him. Glad everything's working out for him again. Thanks for your time, Darren. Great. Paul, you have anything else?
No.
Great stuff. We appreciate you reaching back out to us and being a part of the show.
All right. Take care, guys.
Darren Heitner, sports, law, attorney, blogs, books.
Yeah, he's a good follow on Twitter for those who use that app. I don't know about everybody else out there, but for all of us who had questions, or at least we had formed thoughts on kind of what we felt about yesterday's release by the NCAA. I mean, guys, I basically said yesterday and have repeated nothing burger. I mean, it said nothing. It said nothing at all other than, okay, well, look at this. But people were going crazy over, they're going to start paying. No, they're not. Not yet. They're fighting it still. And that was the point. And as Darren laid out there in a much more eloquent way, I mean, he broke it down. So hopefully that's a clear kind of thing going on in people's heads as far as what's actually happening, and that's why I also made sure to ask him about, okay, what's the next thing we got to look out for so that we can kind of follow along.
You ever have to do a paper in school, and then you realize, maybe you didn't have like a long time, like especially in college where it says you have all this time to work on it, but you don't do anything, and then you realize like, oh, something's due. We said we'd say something about this. Maybe now's the time, and that's kind of how it felt to me with that release was. They just kind of wrote down all these ideas.
It was the 10-page report they wrote the night before.
Yeah, and they threw it out there, and then when the professor gets it and goes, hold on a second. So you want an antitrust exemption, but you don't want the players to have a trade association
right.
so that you're going to be antitrust, so they can't go anywhere else and do what they can do. And then you don't want the players to have any voice at all.
Yeah, and here's the biggest, one of the biggest issues to me is that with the way Darren's talking especially, they keep BSing around like they are and like we know they will continue to because that's the NCAA in a nutshell. They're going to make this so much worse for themselves. They could so easily – he just said just throw a line in your bylaws, or eliminate this single line, and everything's okay.
Yeah.
But they refuse to do that, and now they're going to set it to where separate states have their own rule. This is going to get messy if they don't get on their game.
They've got a lot of stuff staring down the pipe at them. I remember asking Mac Rhodes about this on the air. I said, do you think that the NCAA can be proactive about this? Because it's name, image, and likeness, and the other thing that's coming – And because of the economic crisis that we're in right now, it will come a lot faster than it probably would have, is sports gambling. States that wouldn't even consider it will absolutely consider it now because they want any kind of cash influx to their state that they can tax. So that's going to come faster, and the NCAA is going to have to deal with that. And if they don't, they're going to have a problem.
Well, it's like alcohol sales at stadiums. Remember, that was taboo. And I mean, I'm telling you, you have to make up for the loss of money. Even those who you think will never do that, Utah will do it.
Baylor will never do it, but most everybody else who you think might not still ends up, ultimately doing it. And I think, if you're looking for a cash influx, then that's a good place to start. I think you've got to, if you're certain states, maybe you need to, rethink the notion of sports gambling, of marijuana legalization, of anything that's sort of in that same realm of controversy that not everybody's really on board with, and it's kind of, we're at a point now in time where it's maybe a little bit more acceptable. I think states that are normally maybe a bit archaic are going to have to be a bit more forward-thinking, just because those are the types of forward-thinking moves that other states are making to bring in millions and millions of dollars each year. So here in Texas, we don't allow sports gambling, no marijuana sales, no this, no that. No, we're pretty, we're one of the last ones to really decide.
Very conservative state for the most part. By the way, this is starting to become like every time I look at Twitter, Colt Barber show this is Drew Davison, who covers TCU for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. TCU expecting to hold in-person classes this fall, start date August 24th, according to an email sent by the chancellor to faculty and staff.
Again, it's good I think a lot of this is good to say this is our goal. Mm-hmm. That way you have one, so that if you have to push it, you have a plan. Because you can't just say, like, I don't like this, we'll wait and see. Have a plan, but you can adjust it if you have to.
It seems like, though, that you're seeing like 10, 12, 15, 20 colleges now.
Yeah, they all want to come back.
Yeah. And then what happens, though, is that they're also feeling just like they were being shut down. Mm-hmm. Others are following.
Everyone's following the leader, yeah. It's a complicated thing, but I would much prefer them having a target date and a belief, and putting forth a belief that they're going to be back on campus and they're going to be doing things that we typically would see them doing with classes and athletics and things like that. But I'd much prefer that over the alternative that we had there for about 6 weeks of, well, just wait a couple weeks and it's going to be at its worst. And then, let's wait a couple more weeks. And I feel like we kept getting told, hey, it's a couple weeks, it's a couple weeks, it's a couple weeks. And now we're 6 weeks down, and I don't think anybody wants to hear that anymore. We just want to see progress, and so it's good to see progress.
By the way, and then Bob Bowlesby throws a big wet blanket on some things. But, again, he's been more very, very be careful here before we get into this, but that's fine. It's like no one's wrong.
No.
Everyone has a right to think about when it's time, and it's going to be up to
But you know what a target date does, though? If I am telling you to stay in your house and do social distancing and do all this stuff, and you may not even know anybody who has COVID-19, it's going to be hard for you, especially if you're a person who's a season ticket holder and all this stuff, to understand, like, why am I doing this? But if I give you a target date and I said, listen, if you can just do this until August the 1st, we're going to do everything we can to get it done, as opposed to stay in your house till we don't know when, people may go, okay.
Cut costs.
Well, in this state tomorrow, things change a little bit.
Well, but that's I think what it's going to be. People will say, okay, at least I know they're trying. But it doesn't sound like anybody's trying when you say, we'll get to it when we get to it. Which is, I know what they're not doing, but that's what it sounds like to most people who are just sitting in their house going crazy, like, I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. But if I told you, hey, here's the plan, then you're going to, okay, now that I know that there's at least that, then we'll adjust.
524, this is SicEm365 Radio at Grayson Grundhafer on, again, SicEm365.com. Baylor adds offensive lineman Connor Heffernan from Georgetown. Back-to-back days of commitment. The ninth for the class of 2020, 6'4", 260. 2021. Also, I'm going to put this up on the Twitter poll. Armageddon, I am going to be a part of a Zoom meeting at 6:30 tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't done one of those. Paul, you and I went over a little bit of the fundamentals of this. What are the chances I even get connected?
You'll get connected.
It's so simple. It's
You've done this?
I do it for the podcast every week. Yeah.
Well, who records it?
Grayson.
Okay.
Yeah, you can record. Zoom's a really cool app.
That's what we've been.
So I will be connected.
That's what we've been doing since the lockdown.
What I'm more worried about for you is,
am I going to forget to turn the camera off?
There's a couple of little things that you're going to do. So, like, right in the bottom left corner of Zoom is the microphone and the camera. If there's a line through them, they're not on. If there's not a line through them, then they're on.
Okay. So then at the end of the Zoom meeting, which is held by Greg Tepper,
bottom right corner, leave meeting.
Or just exit out, yeah.
Yeah, but I would always click leave meeting.
I'm going to have to, like, run a virus scan.
Leave meeting. It's fine.
How many people, has anyone ever, like, left the Zoom camera on and forgotten?
Oh, yeah.
So I'll tell you.
There's a local news. Go ahead.
So I was just in a Brazos Theater, of which I'm a part of. I do improv with. We just did a Zoom play that Mike McBride wrote. You can go on Facebook and watch it. And that's the last scene is that. It was a play about a Zoom meeting.
There was an anchor on, I want to say it was Good Morning America. It might have been the Today Show. I don't know. But apparently he was doing a little cut-in from home or whatever and did the typical kind of anchorman cliche thing of suit jacket and tie, but like boxers on, no pants. And he did that and didn't realize his camera was tilted down, and so it was just showing him in his boxers and his suit jacket on his Zoom meeting.
At least he was wearing boxers.
Yeah, but he was just hanging out. And,
I mean, I kind of relax when I'm just kind of, you know.
Yeah, so don't do that. At least be dressed up
just in case. Should I do a poll? Will I get connected, or is this tech Armageddon?
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. Actually, there's a character in the play that had to have somebody come over to their house, and that's why they got fired from the job.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord!
Art in real life.
Yeah,
clash.
No, this is pretty funny. It's good. I'm glad that the play hit so close to home.
That's
my character was ridiculous, but
all right. 527, SicEm365 Radio. We're going to come back and kind of go over a little bit of what you heard. Any questions you have, any comments you have about Darren Heitner. And again, the 254-339-1122 on the Riverbend Liquor and Wine text line and on the Willis Law Firm chat room on SicEm365 Premium. That as well. This is SicEm365 Radio.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Are you in the market for a new home, or are you trying to sell your current home? Call my good buddy Lance Donaldson with brokered by eXp Realty and the Donaldson family team. Let them be your go-to source as you search for your perfect home. Lance is one of the best listeners I've ever met in my life. He'll know everything about you in about 10 questions. He'll know everything you need. He's going to pick up on context clues, all those kind of things that great listeners do. He's a really compassionate, really funny guy, someone that is really going to get to the depth of you and what you need in a home for you and your family, what you want in a home, what you want to see. That's what Lance does, and that's why he closes so many homes, because he listens to the needs of his clients. So if you want to sell your house, if you want to buy a house, Lance Donaldson with eXp Realty, give him a call, 254-214-3713, or go online, lancedonaldson.exprealty.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like these, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illness and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI. And please, remember to follow CDC guidelines and practice social distancing. Stay home, except for the essentials, and be safe. Together, we'll get through this.
This is Waco, and this is Boozer's Jewelers. When locals want luxurious jewelry and at a competitive price, they come here. This is Brad Boozer. He's the owner of Boozer's Jewelers. Boozer's is the premier wedding ring store. They specialize in loose diamonds and wedding rings. At Boozer's, they have 7 jewelry counters dedicated to wedding rings and diamonds only. They also specialize in heirloom jewelry, custom jewelry, watches, and much, much more. So what are you waiting for? Stop on in today and discover why the locals trust Boozer's for their jewelry.
Texas board-certified personal injury trial lawyer and Baylor alum David Willis and Baylor alum Parker Willis are ready to help if you or a loved one has been wrongfully injured in an auto accident, SUV rollover, industrial accident, 18-wheeler crash, or were seriously injured by a defective product or recalled drug. Call them for a confidential and free case consultation at 1-800-GOT-HURT or visit them at texastriallawyer.com, principal office in Houston, Texas.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa wraps, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
Welcome back into SicEm365 Radio. Paul Catalina, David Smoke, and Craig Smoke. We just had Darren Heitner, sports agent, on the show.
Yeah, he was really good. And if you were curious about some of the NCAA jargon from yesterday, then go listen back to that segment. Hopefully he clears up some of the questions that people have out there about what's going on. But it's basically a big ball of nothing from the NCAA and not nearly what a lot of media made it out to be yesterday. I think it got so much coverage due in part to the fact that people are just so desperate for something in the news cycle that they're like, oh, hey, paying players is in the news again. Let's cover the heck out of this. Now, it's supposed to be covered, but I just don't think it was anything close to what some were making it out to be. By the way, Connor Heffernan, commit number 9 for the Baylor 2021 recruiting class. A little bit of information on him as he makes his pledge today. Yesterday, it was quarterback Kyron Drones giving them their QB for 2021. Heffernan is the first offensive line commit for the class of 2021. So they got their QB. Now they got somebody to block for him. 6'4", 260. He's got a nice, looking at one of the profile pictures of him, he's got big old shoulders, nice frame, so they'll definitely be able to add some weight onto that 260 that he's already registered in at. Had offers from Air Force and Army, Colorado State, and Dartmouth as well. Joe Wickline and Sean Bell, it appears, were his primary recruiters, but in addition, La Tech, Mississippi State, Penn, Rice, Sam Houston, Syracuse, Tulsa, UTSA, Utah State, amongst his, I'd say 15, 20 deep offer list right there. And a couple schools that make you go, he must be good at academics. If, Penn's offering or some of the other, or a couple of the others that I mentioned, who was the other one? Dartmouth. So must be pretty good in the classroom as well. But there's a little more information on Connor Heffernan, commit number 9 for Baylor.
All right, so that's back-to-back days. You heard from Kyron Drones earlier today. That's up on SicEm365.com in the forums, but also up on our various timelines on Twitter as well. A couple of other NCAA notes. Paul, this is from Andrew Zimbalist, Sports Money. Sports hiatus gives NCAA an opportunity to rethink the structure of college sports.
But they won't.
They're not going to.
They won't. And I understand that they're trying to work on the immediate future of what happens, but that's why you have the member institutions and the conferences to do.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Let's not rehash what we just did for 30 minutes with Darren and also afterwards. Will this change the arms race? What we're going through, what we've been through, the loss of money, the loss of college basketball money, the loss of maybe going to be some college football, we don't know. Will it stop the arms race? No.
So eventually everything will come back. Now, the negative effects, obviously, we've talked about this before, there might be some sports that just don't come back at all, and that's what I hope we can avoid. But the bottom line is that at the end of the day,
who says that?
That Alabama
Matt Rule on
Matt Rule.
The Alabama boosters that give millions of dollars are still going to be there, and the Notre Dame boosters who still do that, like the schools that do that, are still going to do that.
Yeah, well, the old money schools might have a little less of that right now. But it'll eventually return.
Yeah,
barrels will go back up. They'll be swimming in cash and trying to land 5 stars. I mean, I think college athletics is what it is, and while there may be a brief period where be a little bit less of the, I always use the examples of the waterfalls in locker rooms and things like that. Well, I think some of that might go away. Eventually it will probably return because there will be some grand idea that works for one school that the next school will have to do to answer that, and so on and so forth, just like we've seen the last several years. I mean, that's college sports. That's a big part of it, and so that's why I think that's always going to be a part of it.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, you can't...
Here's by the way, it's not too... Now that all these schools are opening up and we're going to have football on August the 1st.
I think some of the excess will go away for a little while is basically the gist of it.
Here is Stuart Mandel. This seemed to be silly earlier this week because at the time there was none of this, what could be the blossoming of these open dates, even if that doesn't happen. Top 25 preseason college football teams.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't this make? Did you just get tingles when I said that?
No, I mean, again, because as a team that's been routinely overrated for the last few years, but
take fanboy out of it. I'm surely not excited.
Well, I mean, it can't. No, even non-fanboy. What does it mean? Like, it's hard to say because
most schools didn't have spring ball.
Most schools didn't have spring ball. We don't know. We don't know what their depth charts are. So
give me you guys. Hold on.
So LSU's lost a bunch of guys. Let's see how they come back.
I'm going to give you guys and Deontay Epps, by the way, is here with us today, right?
Yeah.
Deontay, I said Deontay when I walked in the door. He has not said hi to me. He's very much like Dylan. So I'm going to let you guys back the three of you tell me a name of a school that's in the top 10 because there might be one or two that you don't get with the first 10 picks. Deontay, we'll start with you.
Yeah, shout it, Deontay.
Clemson, yes.
Okay. Texas.
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Just making sure.
They're in it.
Yeah.
They're in it.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Alabama, obviously.
Yes.
Florida. Oh, sorry.
Let's go Georgia.
What, Georgia, yes. Who'd you say, Paul?
Florida.
Florida's in it.
Trying to think. Oklahoma.
Yep.
So where are we at? We got like 6 of them now?
There's 4 left. There's 5 left. LSU is in it. Paul?
Ohio State.
Yep.
Who?
There's 3 left.
Now we're getting to the maybe a little less predictable ones. Is there another Big 12 school in there?
No.
Okay. Who else is good?
I'll give you this. There's a Pac-12, a Big 10.
Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
A Big 10.
Michigan.
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nebraska.
Hell,
All right, Deontay.
this isn't last year's Heitner.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Who?
Wisconsin.
No, they're right outside.
Okay.
Matt Rule's school.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Penn
State.
State.
Yeah, Temple. No, Penn State. And then Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame.
So isn't that you could do 15 teams and you're going to get the 10 because it's the same ones. There's no, there'll be a team or two that like we don't even know is going to be in the top 25 that will sneak in.
Well,
and
Baylor
all of a
last
sudden,
year.
like Baylor last year or others before. But and I don't think Baylor's a top 25 team based on preseason rankings because of a couple reasons. A lot of guys who left, some very key members who left, no matter what was behind, but also the coaching transition, and they haven't been able to do anything. That doesn't mean it's an anti what they are or who they are.
I had somebody, when I posted the Larry Fedora recap yesterday, one of the lines that I expected it to that caught some of the attention was him saying he doesn't watch film of the players, and it's going to be more of just once he lays eyes on them, and then he goes from there. That does have, I think, more than a few people going, I mean, wouldn't it be better to kind of have an idea of what you're walking into and who Treston Ebner is and things like that?
He's pretty successful.
Yeah, no, and that was my explanation, was that he said it's what works for him, but I do wonder how much of a transition that'll be. I think Baylor has top 25 caliber potential, but, there are some answers that are going to have to be, or some questions that are going to have to be answered big time, and who knows how short of a time period they'll have to try to answer those.
Yeah.
5:40 is the time. Here's another story. This is a stat. By the way, thanks to Tasso, the local officials, and now that we're starting to see some things kind of move a little bit, they're going to have eventually some opportunities for you to become a high school football official. Let me tell you something. If you are the ones, and all of us are, that are in the stands or whoever that are yelling and crying, you have a chance to help the local athletes. I'm going to give you a lot more information. We're going to have Brad Strickland on, or also Jacob Bradshaw on to discuss this sometime next week. Here's a stat that after the draft, this was from Cole Kubelik,
SEC Network.
Him too, that you and I discussed for a second. Mm-hmm. These are the career touchdown passes from these quarterbacks, some of the greatest in the history of the game, to wide receivers who are first-round picks that were drafted as first-round picks, even if they were on another team and they came. Drew Brees threw 104 of his touchdowns to a first-round pick or picks. Tom Brady, 105. Peyton Manning, 293.
They had Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne.
Brett Favre, 127.
I think Dallas Clark was a first-round pick, too.
I don't know if he counts towards, it must. If he was, tight ends or not.
Touchdown, yeah.
Dan Marino, 84. A lot of Duper and Clayton.
Adrian James, too. So he threw. Yeah, so I'm sorry. I'm just giving old Colts. Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah, sorry.
Dan Marino, 84. Phillip Rivers, 35.
So they put nothing around him, huh? Is that basically what that's saying? Or just that the guys that they did put around him, that's not who he was really throwing to as far as first-round weapons?
And I bet you 18 or 20 of those are to LaDainian Tomlinson.
Antonio Gates.
No, he was undrafted.
Yeah, you're right.
Ben Roethlisberger, 69. Probably some of those to Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown wasn't a first-round pick.
He was not,
No.
Okay. So of all the 104, 105, 293, 190, 120, all that, Aaron Rodgers in his career as of now has thrown one touchdown pass to a first-round pick, Mercedes Lewis, and that was last season.
Yeah, and Mercedes Lewis wasn't a guy that the Packers used a first-round draft pick on.
No, it was the Jags.
Yeah, exactly.
And
one. Now, he's got, and one of the arguments here to this, but he's thrown to Jordy Nelson was like a second-round pick.
Devontae Adams, a second-round pick, yeah.
But still.
It still goes to show that even if they draft good receivers that are first-round caliber in the second round of the draft, they're still not putting any first-round talent around him. And this guy is he is a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's already a Hall of Famer, and he's in the prime of his career. And they're not appearing to really be all that worried about wasting his best years that are left or wasting this time. I just don't get it, man. I really, really don't get the handling of Aaron Rodgers at all.
And that's why when the Cowboys, who came first? Tony became before Dez, right?
Yeah.
So he had Dez Bryant to throw to most of his career. Not all of it,
and
but
Jason
a lot.
Witten.
Was Terrell Owens a first-round pick?
No.
He was not.
No.
But who?
But Roy Williams was, even though he wasn't their first-round pick.
But he had
Terry
people
Glenn
around.
was?
Yeah. Was he?
Terry Glenn was a first-round pick with the Patriots.
But was he a part of? Yeah, I guess he was with the Romo.
Yeah, right at the beginning. Terry Glenn was with Romo.
Okay. So that's amazing. One touchdown pass, and it was last year, and then they draft the quarterback in Jordan Love, who might end up being a great pick, might be Aaron Rodgers again. Who knows?
Yeah, I keep forgetting the standards for this statistic. So Jason Witten wouldn't count because he's a third-round pick. So
Yeah. First-round picks, and think about Peyton Manning had over 260, and you were throwing them out left and right. When we come back, 5:44 on this episode 19, week 4, we'll come back and go over a couple of things we learned today. Also, the text line again available, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, thanks to Steve Chapman, 254-339-1122. This is SicEm365 Radio.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, just got done celebrating their 21st year of serving Waco and Central Texas last month, but the deals continue on. Richard Carr employees are the people you can count on to get you in a car or truck safely and on your terms. The showroom is disinfected daily, employee health is closely monitored, hands are washed and disinfected with great frequency. Richard Carr's sales staff will bring a car to you for a test drive, and they can complete financing online. Right now, all 2020 Buick Encores and Enclaves are in stock for 0%, 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. There's also the 2020 GMC line of Sierras, Acadias, Terrains, and Canyons, all 0% for 84 months for qualified buyers, plus Richard Carr anniversary savings. They're your local family dealer and proud Baylor Bear alumni, and they want the chance to earn your business. Great prices, free oil changes with a new purchase, and in-town priority warranty service all comes with your purchase at Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine has their easy-to-access drive-thru open and convenient and clean in-store location on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street in Waco. Riverbend Liquor has the best and most extensive variety of craft beer selections in Waco, with Crown Royal Peach in stock right now and Balcones Whiskey, including single malt, pot still, baby blue, French oak, rye, and brimstone. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, family-owned and operated, and a hidden gem in Waco on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street. And find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physician of Baylor Athletics. Our doctors specialize in the diagnosis and treatment of any and all sports-related injuries. Celebrating over a decade of service in Central Texas, our doctors are equipped to handle a wide range of issues, whether it's your foot or ankle, orthopedic spine care, your hand or wrist, knee and shoulder pain. If you're in need of our arthritis or total joint clinic, trust the doctors that Baylor trusts. Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. Our goal is to get you in the game.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We are open to support our community through this crisis. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is SicEm365 Radio.
What is that little crackling of an album?
I thought this was kind of just a cool mix.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I have to use royalty-free music right now, and I've found several sites that do that, and I've become a big fan of whoever this band is that's doing this because they have a bunch of different things. It's like they make it just for radio bumps.
So
not bad.
That Bob Bowlesby interview today, Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby, and I thought it was a good hire. I have not agreed with a lot of things he's done or said, and I like, for example, the Baylor money from 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever Mac said.
Yeah, Mac did make a point that I hadn't really heard before, and if I have, then it just sort of left my memory. But that was the first time I can recall hearing in some time that the money was. I mean, I guess we heard this when it first happened, but that it was a 48-month thing when it started. So if it started last October, then technically they'd still have a couple years left before the Big 12 time period would lapse. So that makes sense. That at least tells you, okay, well, they said it was going to be 48 months, so then there's still a couple years before there's a decision. Fine, I can understand that. Without knowing that information, you're just like, okay, when are you going to say something? It's kind of like, when are we going to reopen things? It's like you're left with nothing to chew on. So at least there's a timetable of sorts. But yeah, right now, just with so much going on, I'm not surprised that that's not a question he wants to really go and ask people at the moment. The timing's probably not great, but kind of going back to the NCAA for a second, they've waited so long to make a determination on Baylor that we're coming up on like the 5-year anniversary of this dadgum thing, and they haven't made a decision. They're going to make a decision 7 years after the fact. 2 full classes of guys will have come through and graduated before you made a decision on guys 3 groups before them.
Which is why I don't think anything's really going to happen.
Yeah,
or that whatever happens is not going to be that severe because, and Baylor has, and I think part of the reason this is Baylor has the very reasonable argument that, hey, we suffered immediate punishment.
Sure, yeah.
Immediate. Like everybody you would want. It's not like, so a lot of times they punish a school, the people they punish are still there, or they stayed there longer than they should have before they got fired. So it's not like, everybody got fired. The athletic director, coach, the president, all were gone. So that all happened in a matter of months. So in a couple of cases, weeks, and months for Judge Starr. But, they lost the whole recruiting class essentially over time. So that's like you losing scholarships because even though you had those scholarships to give, most of them for Matt Rule wound up going to walk-ons anyway. It wasn't like people, that scholarship didn't go from Devin Duvernay to the other guy who's like Devin Duvernay. It went from Devin Duvernay to this walk-on player who had just earned it.
Well, my biggest thing is even so much the punishment or lack thereof or whatever that's going to look like. My main thing is that how are you going to punish somebody 6-7 years after the fact? Because that's the trajectory that they're on right now. We're in year 4, heading into year 5, basically, right?
This is a PR move, and it's just to appease a couple of the snotties to make it, hey, let's make sure we pee on them.
I understand there's like some PR moves that have to be made. I just think just in general, taking away
you're right.
anything,
I agree.
It's so silly.
It's so America.
It should have happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Should have happened 2 years ago.
All right, so Bob Bowlesby was on Sirius XM. Craig, you mentioned a few of these things. Lucky to get through the upcoming football, basketball season without interruptions. I get that. When you think about a petri dish for spreading infection, can you think of one that's better than the State Fair of Texas? People jammed in there, enthusiastic. It's about a perfect place to transmit any kind of infection. And it could be VD.
It could be very easily
it could
that
be
weekend.
Another type of cold.
Corona spreads far easier than VD.
No, I don't know, but I'm just saying that because I get what he's saying, but at the same time, there's a lot of things that I'm sure spread through the trash and the concessions and the people and coughing and beer and throwing up and nauseated. Okay, this is a new normal. How do we have one of these great sporting events in the entire United States? How do we have that at the Cotton Bowl when you've got to walk through 300,000 people gathered in the outer reaches?
Hey, Bob, here's an idea. You play home and home until you get this all cleared away. Oh, fixed. Whoops.
It's those kind of things that we're going to have to think ourselves through. It just seemed like he's really good about throwing a wet blanket on any kind of, and I'm not saying he's wrong. We don't know. He might be right. But he is...
A little on the negative side?
No, I mean, that's how
maybe cautious is the right word, but it appears to be like just kind of and it might be because he's got an entire conference to deal with.
He has to be the one who's litigious, who thinks in a litigious manner, because he's the one who has to deal with all that. And he's a lobbyist, essentially, at many levels. And then in addition to that, he's also the leader of this conference that has to lobby for the interests of the conference. But it's so strange.
What did you just say?
That he has a leader who has to lobby instead of a lobbyist.
You think Bob Bowlesby has always been in the best interest of the conference when he's
no? I mean, that's what his job is supposed to be.
Oh, okay.
That's what his job's supposed to be.
Because he's a mouthpiece like a lot of others because of who he has to be a mouthpiece for.
There can only be a couple of Mike Slives and Greg Sankey's out there. Of course, the SEC set this up from the beginning.
Yeah.
It's, I use this analogy all the time. Southwest Airlines is really easy to deal with, and I've wondered why the other airlines don't just copy their customer service model. And I know it's not 100%, but it's better than a lot. Well, if you didn't start out that way, it's hard to change. Look, if you go to Disney World, it's the easiest vacation you'll ever take because they figured out if you're unhappy for 2 seconds, you're not going to spend money. So why doesn't everybody do that? Well, if you don't start out that way, it's hard. And the Big 12 obviously didn't start out that way.
All right, we got to wrap it up. Kyron Drones. Go ahead, Craig.
Yeah, you're just missing some parts from Bowles. But he was on Feinbaum, by the way. That's where he said all this. He said that they were looking at a 6-week prep window for football teams to get back to it and what would be needed for the season, and that there will need to be a reacclimation point that he thinks can be accomplished in about 2+ weeks, but 6 weeks overall would be needed, and that you would need a regular preseason. And he says because of all those factors that he thinks about July 15th would be the time that you would need to have everybody back on campus to play a football season. So July 15th, 2.5 months from now.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it is. It's in October when that OU Texas game he's talking about is being played is even further away. But regardless, he said, I think we have to start getting some positive news by the middle of June to the middle of July at the latest. If it goes later than July 15th with a return to activity, then I think we have to take a hard look at delaying the season, maybe pushing 12 games all into the fall, or maybe no non-conference, all-conference schedule, etc. So he threw a date out there that he thinks they need to see something by July 15th.
Well, I know this, and we don't have much time. We've already discussed it, but there's already a ton of colleges and campuses just in the last 24 to 48 hours that have said, hey, we're coming back. Now, whether that again, it's just a target date. All right, thanks to many of our guests, including Shadow Creek quarterback Kyron Drones, Dan Reeves, Tank Hopkins, who played at Hawaii under Dave Aranda, Kyle Fuller, Seattle Seahawks, Mickey Spagnola, sports law attorney Darren Heitner. Thanks to him as well. Thanks to our great sponsors. Ideal MRI is our title sponsor, but so many of them that help us every single day. For Paul Catalina, for Deontay Epps, for Craig Smoke, thank you for listening whenever you do, however long it might be. I'm David Smoke, and good night.